the start of the live lounge here then at Kartmasters 2024, and the first person to be in the hot seat is Dan Ashton, clerk of the course. Dan, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yourself?
Good start to this weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, practice yesterday went really well. It was nice and safe, which is obviously our main key thing. Obviously, we're race day, first race day today, so everybody's a bit more hyped. It's if you like, the official start to Kartmasters today, so we're all very excited.
And how many Kartmasters have you done now?
I mean, you asked me this before, and I've got 2016 in my head, but it might have been 2015, so quite a few now, quite a few, and it's always a fantastic event.
And you do kind of like all the British rounds, the club rounds here. Do you find there's a difference between Kartmasters and some of the other big races?
Yes and no. Obviously, for us as officials, it's all the same. You know, it's all about the fairness and the safeness of, or the safety of the racing. But it always feels a bit more, you know, it's the one-off GP plate. Obviously, with the British and the club championships and whatever, they're fighting for a championship. So for the one-off GP plate, there's always that little bit more, yeah. There's only ever 36 karts on the track, so that's all we've got to worry about. And
do you get excited for Kartmasters? I know I do, personally. It's one of those races where from like a little kid, you watch it and then you get the chance to race in it, and I think it's a very special event, especially at Paul Fletcher International. Do you agree, or?
Yes. It's the one event that the club specifically worked very, very hard for. Obviously, there's a great team of people here at Trent Valley, and it always feels nice to A, be involved, and B, to be here at Paul Fletcher International for Kartmasters is always an honour. It's an absolute honour.
Yeah. And as for the racing then, have you got any kind of either PFI or Kartmasters racing moments that stick in your head, that you kind of sit there and think, oh, that was a good race, or that was a good move?
I can't remember what year it was, but the one in my head always is the Brandon car in the final, from the back of the grid. Started from the back of the grid, and we all thought it's a shame. And he comes up and he ends up winning the final, which was a fantastic drive.
And he almost did it in the other class as well, because he was in both.
Yes,
that
he
weekend.
did. Yes, he did.
And it was like, no way is he gonna do.
Yes, he did. Second or third, maybe, I think in that one.
It was second.
It was, yeah. Yeah, no, that for me is always a standout drive. Obviously, everybody that wins the GP plate has a fantastic drive. A 15-minute plus a lap race is a long race. I'm sure you know as well.
Yeah. Do you find it long in your job? Do you kind of stand there and think, oh, like, come on, guys, let's hurry the clock up a little bit?
Depends if it's a really good race. You think, God, we can go for another 20 minutes. This is fantastic. But yeah, sometimes it feels a long race, and I think sometimes people need to remember it's a very long race. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
As long as it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a good, hard, fair race. We're pretty cool. 15 minutes plus a lap is a long time.
Yeah. I almost find you watch the first 5 minutes and there's so much going on, and then you look at the clock and you're like, I'm literally not even halfway. I'm only a third of the way there.
Yeah. No, I must admit the first probably 3 to 5 minutes is always quite busy and lots of things happening, and then it sort of settles down, and then you get into the last closing phase, and it's like, right, this is now the battle for the GP plate.
Yeah. And obviously Kartmasters happens annually, and always on the same weekend, but something really big that's coming to this track for a one-off this year is the FIA World Finals. Will you be attending?
I will. I'll be there. We're all looking forward to it. It's fantastic. It's a great team effort for sure as well from the club. You know, I mentioned the club already, but the effort and the time that a lot of the key people of the club put in, especially for Kartmasters, but for the World Champs, the organising for it, watching, you know, Claire and Danielle and Louise and all the other committee members and directors it's mind blowing, and it's a massive round of applause to Trent Valley for sure.
Yeah. And I've noticed this year, kind of since February time, there's been a lot of drivers coming from overseas to get themselves ready. Have you seen a jump in the standard of racing at PFI this year?
A little bit, I think. A little bit for sure. There's a lot of as you say, the guys and girls coming over from overseas to our club meetings and what have you, which it has brought the standard up a little bit, but it's always great racing at PF. It's always some really good racing and some good drivers as well.
Yeah. Okay then, and a last question for you. What are you most looking forward to this weekend?
I'm most looking forward to a nice, safe, hard weekend, hard, fair weekend, and everybody going home relatively happy and watching 8 GP plate winners crowned on the start-finish line.
Yeah. And pizza oven as well? I thought you were going to say, have you had one yet?
Not yet, not yet. Might be down there later though. I might be down there later. We have got some circuit breaks today, so I might be down at the pizza wagon.
Well, thanks for your time, Dan.
No problem.
Dan, Ashton, everybody, Clerk of the course. Back in the hot seat then, and I'm joined by a DHR driver. We met before.
Yeah, I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
I'm Nicole.
Nice to meet you.
So, Kartmasters. I know that you've competed in this event before. Can you give us a rundown of some historic results?
Yeah, so last year I was runner-up to Kai, my teammate, which was off to a tricky start that race, but yeah, that was P2, and then the year before that, I think I did the double that year, which resulted in 2 DNFs from the same driver, which was pretty good. And yeah, and I think I was 5th in 2019, I believe. And yeah, every other one I don't think I've finished.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's a good event for you then?
Yeah, it's one of them ones I always go home from and say I'm never going to come back.
And you do?
And I always come back.
Yes.
So,
what brings you back?
I think it's the one thing on the British calendar which I've not quite won, which I wanna do before I hang the boots up.
Okay, so talking of wins then, you've had a successful couple of years, you've been the British champion. This year you're going into the final round of the Euro Series as a potential winner. How's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been really good. I mean, this year, again, start of the year, I wasn't going to be karting. And yeah, I mean, I did the first round, did quite well. And then, yeah, it just kind of led from there. And now we're in the position we're in, so it's really good. But yeah, alongside that, we're doing a GT campaign in GT4, which is going really well. I think we're leading at the minute, so yeah, should be good.
And then talking of your GT campaign, why GTs and why not try and jump into maybe single-seaters, which is pretty much like the natural progression for people in karting? Why GT racing?
Yeah, so I think, well, I did a little bit of F4 last year in America, but it just wasn't really the championship we hoped it would be. We didn't get enough seat time. And then, yeah, it's just so much money and we haven't really got the resources to do it properly and competitively, well, or full stop. So, yeah, I think GT4, out the GT route, I think is the quickest way to being a professional driver. And, yeah, it still gets good views, so the sponsors love it. And, yeah, it's just good progression, really.
And then back to karting, you're kind of one of the leading lights in karting, and you do a lot for the younger drivers. I know you do a lot of coaching, on-track days, you do data, and then kind of more general driver tuition of like fitness and mentality. Are there any kids here this weekend that you look at and think that they've got a big talent and maybe for the viewers at home to watch out for?
Yeah, for sure. There's loads I work with. I mean, I'll be biased, a lot of them are within my own team. Obviously, we've got Lizzy Mentier, who's on the Alpine Academy. I think she's going to be one to watch in the future and got all the support behind her, so she's definitely going to be a talent to watch. And then we've got like Cole Denham. He's very young. I think he had to get dispensation to race junior this year. And yeah, he's taking it to the big boys. He's doing a mega job.
What's his nickname for you? Higwig?
Higwig, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I think he's going to be a big talent. And then the likes of Harry Taylor and the Mini, he's definitely going to be one to watch in the future.
And then back to yourself being one to watch, and then the talent in the senior grid. Who are you looking at this weekend as somebody who's going to give you maybe a bit of a run for your money?
I think that's a tricky one. Not really anyone springs to mind. I think once we go out there, we're all the same. So yeah, I don't really look at anyone as a particular threat more than anyone else. Obviously, we're all very competitive and all at a very high level to be here. So I think there's no one in particular, but there's probably 20 people there which can definitely go for the win.
And then I know that it's soon to be announced on your part. I know that that's going to be announced before these interviews will go out. FIA World Finals here in September. You're on the grid?
I think I'll be there.
Yeah?
Yeah, providing next weekend's test goes well, we'll be there.
Can I ask who with, or is that a hush-hush?
Let's keep that quiet for a minute.
Yeah? Okay. And then, again, Kartmasters, absolutely massive event. Do you think racing in this and being in that really competitive environment will give you an upper leg going into the FIA World Finals?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a home track. It's probably my favourite track in the UK, so it's definitely a benefit. But of course, I've never driven the OK kart. It's direct drive, much faster, different tyre. So I think the track's going to evolve in a very different way. So I'll definitely just have to adapt over the weekend and, yeah, just trust the people around me to learn and, yeah, hopefully come out on top. We'll see what we can do.
Well, thanks very much, Matt, for your time.
Thank
Best
you.
of luck. That's Dan Holland racing driver Matthew Higgins. Back in the Kartmasters live lounge then, and I'm joined with Denny Babieck from the Czech Republic. Denny, welcome to Kartmasters. How's your weekend been so far?
It's been quite good, and I'm very happy to be here.
And this is your second Kartmasters, I think. What's brought you back to the UK and back to Paul Fletcher?
Obviously, it's one of the biggest competitions in the world, so just trying to win and do the best I can.
And this weekend you're doing Mini-Max and Water Swift. Why do both and not just the one?
Because I don't know, it's just...
Just more competition?
Just more competition, yeah.
Yeah. And do you find, you know, you've done a bit of UK racing now, do you find that it's tough over here, or you also race in Europe? Is it similar? How do you find it?
The tracks are quite a bit different, but obviously some of the people from that race here are also in Europe, so I don't find it much different, but it's quite a bit different, yeah.
Yeah. And then we have the FIA World Finals coming over in a couple of months. Do you think you'll be paying attention to that? Do you like invest anything into the FIA? Do you watch it?
I'll be watching it, yeah.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to it?
Quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah. And then, so this weekend, your biggest competition, you've got some big drivers who, you, like you said, you also race out in Europe with them. When you come over here, is there anybody that you look at to try and beat, or you know that you're going to be racing against?
Obviously, I don't really care who is it. I just want to win.
Yeah. And then as well, so you're racing with Teps, your family team, this weekend.
Yes.
And your sisters have raced, you know, and they've all been very competitive. Do your sisters help you to push you along? Do you pick up tips from them? How does that work?
Yeah, sometimes they give me a bit of tips, but normally it's fine.
Yeah. Do you ever find it gets competitive between you, or is it just
sometimes,
good fun?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've also got a ticket for the Rotax Grand Finals later on in the year in Sarno. You've been to that event previously. Looking forward to it?
Yes, of course I'm looking to it. It's World Finals, it's the biggest competition, so I'm very looking forward to it.
And then that's a huge achievement just to have the ticket, and you've been to that event quite a few times now. Have you got any other achievements within karting that you're specifically proud of?
Not much, just this year going pretty well, and I'm happy with that so far.
Because did you have a win in Wackersdorf and Frankfurt, I think it was, in the Euro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just in the... I'm very happy to obviously win that, but still not finished the championship.
Still going. When's your last round?
In X30 or in Rotax?
Both.
Both. Rotax is in Monaco, I don't know when it is. And then Genk is in 2 weeks, I think, so looking forward to it.
Yeah. Great to speak to you then, Denny. Best of luck for this weekend. That's Czech Republic's driver, Zdenek Babieck. Kirsty Hockly joins me in the live lounge for our next interview, but this time we're not with the driver, social media manager of Fuel Your Media and owner. Kirsty, how's your journey through motorsport started and got you to where you are today?
So I started karting when I was 12, 13. I did a lot of just club racing. I did NKF back in the day. Wasn't very good, but just did it as a hobby. Really enjoyed it. And then as I went through college and everything, I basically knew that I wanted to work in it of some sort. Wasn't sure how. I did business at college, a BTEC, and I went on to then go to uni and do marketing, and that's when I made the decision. I did a couple of internships around motorsport-related businesses that then pushed me more towards knowing that I wanted to be in motorsport, but then I knew that it was karting that I had the love for. So I started up my company, just started working with smaller teams, worked my way up, started out with like Honda teams and like made my way up, and now I'm covering teams in every class basically, and drivers.
And I know you've covered some big drivers as well. Last year at the FIA World Finals, you did Dries van Langendonk, who obviously was world champion and has just joined the McLaren program. What's it been like for you to cover drivers that are, you know, huge names in the sport now?
Yeah, it was great. So I had the opportunity to go to the World Championships last year with Omnia. They were covering several teams and drivers that had a chance of winning at the time, and Dries was with Forza, and we were covering Forza, and it was just great because I was with Dries on the grid taking some videos to put on the stories, and suddenly like he had become the world champion, and I saw it the other day that he'd been signed for McLaren, and it's just great to see the progression of these drivers throughout karting and up through the ranks basically.
And do you find, like, you're an adult in the environment, do you think it's quite special to actually watch these kids grow up and turn themselves into, like, you know, full-on athletes?
Yeah, so there's now drivers, because I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, there's now drivers that I worked with in Honda Cadet or Miami Cadet that are now in seniors or in single-seaters and making their way through it, and it's actually scary on how much they've grown. Like, they were up to here on me and now they're taller than me. But it's just really nice to see their progression and be a part of their journey as well, because it's just seeing like their whole story unfold. It's really nice to be a part of that. And obviously I'm building their portfolio, and even for the teams as well, I've got teams that hadn't won a British Championship round before, then have gone on to win a British Championship round, and I've been there and I've covered it for them. It's just really nice to be part of their storytelling experience.
And I feel like we kind of have like quite a similar journey through motorsport. You know, we both raced, we got to a stage where like retirement was the option, but we've gone into the other side of things like media and working in the sport. I think like motorsport specifically for women has changed and really opened. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's massive now, and I remember when I first started, I was very often just literally like one of the only females working in the paddock, and now like yourself, I see you every weekend now. Like
you can't get rid of me.
But there's more of a community of all of us now that like can all bounce off each other and help each other out as well, because when I first started it was a bit like, oh wow, and like even things for like we're away every weekend going for dinner in an evening. I was the only female sat at the dinner table, but now I just feel like there's a lot more. It's just grown massively in both sides of it. Like I've been seeing a lot more female mechanics around now, which is really good to see. Just as a whole, there's just a lot more around, and it is really good to see.
I think just karting is very much a community. Like I know on an evening, you know, you get together in your teams or in your groups, and like Larkle, for example, we all went and played golf. Like, you're at kart track and you've gone to play golf in the evening. I think it's a community, and what do you specifically find special about that?
It's like you said, it's a community, but I also class it as like a family. Yeah. Because I've now spent so much time with some of these people, and also there's a lot of people that I raced with when I was 12, 13 that are now working in it as well. Yeah. And like it's funny because sometimes their parents come and I'm like, I've not seen you for years. They remember me as racing 12 years, like at 12 years old.
Kirsty. Yeah. Now you're like.
Yeah. So it's just that whole journey, and you create that journey together because you're together like 12 hours a day sometimes every weekend. You've got to have them good relationships with everyone, got to get on with everyone, but it's just such a nice community to all get on. It is really nice. So.
And then Kartmasters then, did you ever race in it when you raced?
No.
So I did it twice. And it's lives up to its reputation. It's quite a special thing. But what are you most looking forward to this weekend?
I just really enjoy working the event. Every year that I've done it, like from both sides of it, I like to try and get as much done as early as possible in the weekend, so Sunday I can try and enjoy watching the races.
Yeah.
Because it's really difficult doing social media. Like, I've got Chris Simpson now as a photographer for me, so that takes a lot of the pressure off from me. He's on track taking photos all the time and sends them through to me, and I'm just busy uploading. But there are times where I'm having to get the content on track, and when you're behind a phone or a camera, you can't see what's going on.
You're not looking.
No, I can't keep up to date with what's going on the track, and I end up having to rewatch it on Alpha that night, because I'm like, what happened in that race? Because I just didn't manage to watch it. But I've enjoyed Kartmasters every year that I've done it. It's like, I've got 22 clients this weekend to cover across every single class. It's just really nice to see how they got on throughout the weekend as well. It's a long weekend to manage, basically.
Wow. Thank you for your time, and
No
hopefully
problem.
you get to watch some of the racing in between. That's Kirsty Hockly, everybody, Fuel Your Media owner. Back in the hot seat then, and this time I'm joined by Max Jolly, 10-year-old driver, one of the youngest drivers to join us this weekend. This is your first Kartmasters, Max. Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
So how come this is your first year of racing, and to come and race at Kartmasters is quite a big race, it's a big deal. How come you've decided to come over and do that?
Because it's a very competitive kart racing race weekend, because it's like a one for all, like wheel to mill, O plate. So yeah.
And then you're under the guidance of Reese Hunter and Kai Hunter this weekend. Reese has had a lot of success, and Kai has won 2 GP plates before. Yeah. What's Kai said to you ahead of this weekend?
Kai's just helped me learn the track, but I've been here many times, so he's just making me even better.
And I think I was talking to your mum earlier on, and she said at home the only thing to be on the TV is old Kartmasters races. Yeah. Have you been watching them a lot to see what goes on?
Yeah, I just watch it every day, like 24/7.
Are there any moments of Kartmasters, like old races, that stick in your head?
Kai's race from last year, the Mini Max and Micro.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then this weekend then, you're in a really tough grid. Is there anybody in that grid that you maybe look at as a benchmark that you're trying to learn off of, or you're trying to beat?
There's a few, so like few people from KR, few people from Sam Pollitt, and other drivers. Yeah.
And you said a minute ago that you're here because it's so competitive.
Yeah.
You've done another competitive race this year, which was out in Dubai. Can you tell me about how Dubai was and what you did out there?
Dubai was really fun because it was against different world drivers, but it was really hot, so it was hard to like drive in. But when you got the helmet on, you're like, let's focus. Don't worry about the heat or like anything. Let's just focus on driving.
Yeah. And then I know you have quite a big social media following.
Yeah.
You do a lot on Instagram, some really great content.
Yeah.
Before you've been compared to, or you've been called a mini Max Verstappen, but I think, do you prefer Lando Norris?
Lando Norris, yeah.
So Lando is one of the F1 drivers that hasn't ever won Kartmasters.
Yeah.
So George Russell has, I think Albon has, but Lando hasn't. So do you think, because you're mini Lando, do you think he maybe actually has a chance of winning the Kartmasters?
I might have a chance. It's just all to play for, really. You never know who's going to win.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And then do you have any more thoughts on this weekend? Anything you're looking to achieve specifically?
I'm trying to achieve the GP plate, my first one in my career, and just have fun out there.
Yeah. Well, we'll watch you go and have some fun then. Thanks very much. That's Max Jolly. Over in the live lounge then, and I'm joined by Dan Hazelwood. Dan, can you introduce yourself and Fusion Motorsport?
Yeah, so as you say, Dan Hazelwood, team owner of Fusion Motorsport. Team's been running just over 20 years now, so been doing it quite a while, but still enjoying being here at PF.
And then in that 20 years, what are some of your probably like notable achievements within the sport?
We've won the British Championship, I think 9 times. Kartmasters, I think it's 11 times. So there's some highlights in the UK. We've also more recently won our first WSK race out in Italy, so that's quite a milestone for us. But yeah, also it's nice to see a lot of our previous drivers going on to up higher on the ladder in motorsport, such as Taylor Barnard. You know, a prime example, a kid he won the GP plate with us here 2017 in cadet and now racing in Formula 2. So Zach O'Sullivan, again another one who won the GP plate also in Formula 2. So some of the drivers knocking on the door of F1 now, so it's nice to see.
Did you have Freddie Slater in his early career?
Yeah,
as well?
of course, yeah. Freddie, who's obviously doing a fantastic job in F4 now. He's obviously going to have a bright future ahead of him. Was very strong with us in the cadet years, yeah, he's another one of our previous drivers who's going on to greater things. And
then you said you've hit another milestone. Excuse me. You've hit another milestone recently, WSK win. So this year you've branched into OK as well as running X30. How's that been running kind of two teams, but obviously on the weekends you're in two different countries?
Yeah, obviously it's a challenge. I can't be in two places at once, but I've got some really good people around me who've been with me for a while. Chris Rogers manages the UK team, and Neil Dran and Zach Crackler manage the European team. So obviously there's a bit of a crossover. I'll tend to go to wherever the bigger meeting is. This one was a difficult one because it's the European champs in Sweden and also the GP play here. So quite a tough decision, but chose to stay in the UK for this one. So logistically it's a challenge, but we seem to be making it work.
Kartmasters is probably the biggest race in the year in the UK. Do you find that your drivers have a different mentality at the GP plate compared to other rounds?
Yeah, for sure. The mentality is always going to be a little bit different because it's a winner-takes-all event, whereas in most other races you're aiming to score points towards a championship. So I guess it is a little bit more do or die when it comes to the finals. But that's the nature of the event, and that's what makes it a good spectacle for everyone that's watching. But it's important to, as we go into qualifying and into the heats, to obviously do as well as possible to get them up there on the starting grid for the final. Having said that, I've seen the race one even from the pit lane, so anything can happen at Kartmasters. You just never know. So it's about not putting too much pressure on the drivers at this point of the weekend, but then obviously as we get closer to the main event, just trying to make them obviously get the most of every opportunity.
And then one of your really notable drivers this season has been Harrison Mackie in Junior X30. We've seen a huge jump in his performance. You know, he was always there last year, but this year we've really seen him kind of run away with some results. What have you done for Harrison and for your other drivers to get him to do that?
Nothing different to what we do normally with all the drivers. I think he's just built up a lot of confidence over the last 6 to 9 months. Obviously, once you start winning, it's a snowball effect. Confidence builds, and you keep winning. But what's impressed with him this year is how composed he's been at leading the races. He's kept a very calm head. Doesn't really worry too much about what's going on behind him. And even when he has been shuffled back previously in other years, he would have got a bit flustered and not got the best result out of it, but he's remained pretty calm, and always ends up sort of coming back through and at least finishing on the podium, if not winning the racing. So from our side, we've not really done a huge amount different other than just help build that confidence and give him that opportunity to always be near the front.
And then this weekend, you've been to a lot of kart races, but what are you most looking forward to seeing?
Obviously when you get to the finals, it's one of those races where you can't really predict what's going to happen. I'd like to say I look forward to seeing a few of my drivers pushing away at the front and battling at the end, but it's not always that easy. It's been done in the past, but it's a very competitive year, particularly in all the classes, but the Water Swift class is very competitive. We've definitely not had that our own way, so it would be nice to get a win in that one. And like you say, Harrison's got a good chance in juniors, as Riley Cranham, who's won the GP plate previously in cadets twice actually. So he's trying to do the double again this weekend because he's doing Rotax, which isn't a class we normally do.
Yeah.
But obviously we're running him in that as well. So that would be obviously a great achievement to win both of those.
Well, thanks for your time, Dan. That's Fusion Motorsport owner Dan Hazelwood. Over in the live lounge then, I'm joined by 9-year-old driver Ava Laurence. Ava, you've joined us from overseas this weekend. Where are you from and what are you racing in?
I'm originally from Australia. I've lived in Singapore for 8 years, but I live in Dubai, but I'm going to move to Italy next year.
Nice. Which part of Italy, do you know? Not yet?
Desenzano.
Nice. Sun will be out then.
Yeah.
Lots of pasta and pizza to eat.
Yeah.
So why have you decided to come and race at Kartmasters this weekend?
I feel like it's a lot because last year I came second last, but I have learned a lot. So I'm thinking this year I can learn more.
Yeah. And you've joined Strawberry Racing this year.
Yeah.
Is that where you've been learning all of this?
Yeah. They're a really nice team.
Yeah.
Like, they helped me a lot for my journey.
Yeah. Is that through kind of coaching and data? What do they do for you? What do they say to you?
They basically tell me what I have to do and what I have to improve on,
yeah,
and what I have to work on, like the ups and the downs.
Yeah. And then I think over the winter, have you been hanging out with a few stars? You saw Kimi Antonelli and Oliver Behrman at a track. You've been hanging out with Susie Wolff and Toto Wolff. How's that been going for you? Where did that come from?
Well, I met Susie Wolff through the F1 Academy program, and since then I met their son, Jack, which I did testing with.
Yeah.
And I was helping him learn in the track in Dubai.
Yeah?
Yeah, and then I saw Susie Wolff and Toto Wolff there too.
And then, so you're on the F1 Academy Discover Your Drive program.
Yes.
So you go out and do that at the Champions of the Future Academy rounds.
Yes.
What's that been like? Have you enjoyed it?
It's been a lot of learning and fun experiences. It's a lot of experience, and it's great.
Yeah. And do you enjoy kind of being around other girls in the sport?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you help each other, kind of push each other along, and off the track, do you give each other any advice, and kind of, is there a bit of a community there, would you say?
Well, it's not like I'm going to help you learn. It's like a fun way, but when we have to get serious, we're serious. Right?
Nice. So friends off the track, but competitors on the track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this weekend, what are you most looking forward to for the racing?
I'm most looking forward to learning,
yeah,
and improving at PFI.
And then, is there anybody in the grid that you're in that you maybe look at to try and learn from, or you look at to try and beat?
No, not really.
No?
I just want to learn.
Just doing your own thing. Very good. Well, that's Ava Laurence, everybody, Strawberry Racing driver and F1 Academy Discover Your Drive program athlete. Over in the live lounge again then, but this time joined by Kai Hunter, 2022 and 23 Senior Rotax GP plate. Kai, how you doing?
Yeah, great. I think, yeah, lovely to be here again for, I don't know how many years I've done it for now, so yeah.
100?
Yeah, no, not that many, but yeah, a few. But it's good to be back.
Do you find that this is quite a special event compared to some other races in the year?
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those events where no one really, you only care about the end result, so you only care about that 15-minute final in the end. Like, you can do how many races over the weekend, but the only one matters, and I feel like it's more of a prestigious award to win than like an O plate or one-off race at the E plate. So I think everyone tries a little bit harder for this race as well.
And having driven this event a couple of times, I think you come in with it in a very different mentality, like you said. But do you think because you've won it twice, you've got an upper hand, even though people treat it differently?
I feel like there's a bit of a cheat code how to win this race.
Yeah.
So you have to almost like, you have to do it once.
You might want to be careful because this is going out tonight. You don't.
No, I'm not going to say it, obviously, but you kind of get the feel for how to win it more, well, easier than most people who just come in and do it for one-time thing. I feel like you've got to play the race so well and try and find out how it's going to go. Obviously, a lot of stuff kicks off at the start, so you got to be on your A game at the start, and yeah, you just got to get through it.
I think it's one of those things you literally can't predict a single thing. As a driver, a spectator, you know, you've been in a race where there was kind of a bit of a famous thing go on, the Callum Bradshaw wave, which was very unexpected. But how do you how do you deal with it when you're out there, that pressure of being at the front?
Yeah, well, the thing with the Bradshaw wave, I didn't even see him wave, so I think I probably would have felt a bit more pressure if I did actually see. But yeah, I feel like this is a track where you can literally go from the back to the front. They're overtaking opportunities everywhere, so I feel like that's what makes it even harder to win. You've got people who can start anywhere in the top 10, top 20, all the way back at the back of the grid to come through and try and win it. So I don't think when you say you're safe, you're never safe around here. I feel like, yeah, there's so much going on, it's hard to keep up.
So you've got 2 GP plates under your belt. Do you reckon you'd ever try and go for the record, or?
What's the record?
I think it's 7.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be racing.
You wouldn't go until then?
No.
Not even as a one-off?
Yeah, for a one-off, but then it's hard because you got younger people coming up who are who are very good, a bit crazy. Sometimes you can't keep up with that either. So I feel like, yeah, it's hard to keep going, but if you still got the passion for it and stuff like that, then yeah, definitely. And
talking of the younger ones coming up, you've got Max Jolly kind of under your guidance this year and this weekend. I see a lot of potential in Max. He's only been doing it for a year and he's had some really good results. What do you see in him? Yeah, I think he's a really talented kid. I think that at the start of the year he raised a lot of eyebrows. Definitely some of the northern rounds that we've done at Ward and Laurence stuff, obviously it's his home track, so that's where he really can push around. But I think there's a lot to go for him still. He's so new to it, you can't teach experience. So he just needs to get there himself a little bit, and obviously we need to keep improving it. But yeah, of course it's going to be hard. Nothing's ever easy. So I think he's doing a really good job. I think we're trying our hardest, so hopefully it comes together. And over the many years that you've done Kartmasters then, you know, this can either be within the senior grid or within your races. What's some of your kind of Kartmasters best moments? I feel like last year was really good because I was obviously on DHR with Matt and we came 1-2. Besties. Yeah, besties. Yeah, it's good because I feel like last year we were at the front everywhere, and it's good to finish 1-2. The only thing I wish is if he came off at the start, we could have actually raced all the way through it. So I think this is probably a little rerun this year. So it should be good. Gonna maybe see you and Higgy 1-2 again? Yeah, I think I'll try, but yeah, we'll see. Yeah, it's good. And then kind of go into your more like personal racing career. It's always been you and your brother racing against each other or with each other. Yeah. You're now in his team. You know, it's kind of a theme within sport that the younger athlete sometimes not achieves a bit more, but does a bit more. You've got like Serena and Venus Williams, Ollie and Lando Norris. Do you think that's the case where you were able to learn off of him and that's what's got you to where you are? I think you get her a point where the younger brother wants to always beat the older brother, but the older brother always thinks he's better. Yeah. So I feel like that pushes the younger brother even more. It's a good job, obviously. We've got a lot of respect for each other for what we've done in the sport. So I think that's what helps us now when he runs a team, and I help him out as well. So yeah, I don't know where the career is going to go. I feel like I can do a lot for Reese at the minute while he's trying to start up, and I think that's good for me and him. But yeah, I think we're doing well. Well, maybe we'll see you with a third GP plate in your hands on Sunday evening. Thanks very much. That's Kai Hunter. Next up in the live lounge is Marcus Littlewood. Marcus, nice to have you here.
Good to see you.
And I think, is this your 7th or your 8th Kartmasters?
7th Kartmasters, I think. I've done every Kartmasters since 2017, except from, I think I missed it in 2019, but yeah, 7, I think.
And you've had a few podiums in there, I think?
Yeah, so in my first year, I did Minimax in 2017, and I managed to come 3rd place in that in the final. Slightly lucky at the end of that one, but...
Was it a bit of a pip to the line kind of thing?
It was a bit of a hack for the last 5 minutes, and then I think on the podium that day was Jamie Day on 1st, Kai Hunter 2nd, and then me. And then last year I actually got 3rd as well in Senior X30 and poled it for the final, which was, yeah, really good. I was slightly disappointed that I couldn't get the win in that, but yeah, a podium in Kartmasters is a very difficult thing to do. So.
And then this year you've returned to karting after being away doing some cars, but you've decided to come back and do some Rotax instead of X30. Why?
I just needed a bit of a challenge. I've still got the karting bug. Obviously, I haven't done a race since October last year at Portimao in the X30.
Yeah.
But my brother works for Dan Holland as well in the workshop and stuff, so I thought, yeah, why not give it a go, give it a shot at Kartmasters in the Rotax and see what I can do.
I feel like once you have that bug, it never really goes away, kind of lives in you.
Yeah, I do all the coaching as well for Jade Racing in the X30 stuff. Really enjoy it, and I've been around it since I stopped doing the karting stuff at the end of last year, but definitely still enjoy it, and just here to have a good time, want to do my best, and yeah, just see what happens, because it's never over till the last lap of the final.
No, it's never over until it's like literally flag is out and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. It's always a tough event. It's going to be probably a bit of carnage at the end of the final, but it'll be good to watch.
And then, so you've left karting a little bit, actually racing, you know, like you said, you're still coaching. You've gone over to racing radicals, so cars, quick cars as well. How have you found that, and how are you getting on?
To be honest, the radical is similar to a kart, because there's a lot of front end. It's a very pointy car, so you're always like on the edge, going through the corners, but like you don't actually have to steer it that much.
Yeah.
And it's also on a treaded tyre, so it makes it move around a lot, a bit like a kart. So adapting to that hasn't been too bad. We're running it as a privateer in that as well. And then we're four points away from the championship league going into the last round. So it's fun going into that. I did a test day last Tuesday actually, just before Kartmasters. And yeah, I was a bit rusty on the first few sessions, but I'd definitely say it's easier to go into a car than come back to karts. But yeah, definitely finding it okay. Was P2 in the warm-up this morning, P8 in my quali. So yeah, it's been enjoyable so far.
What's your long-term goal? You know, I can only assume you've gone to cars because you want to be a professional racing driver. Yeah. Is that the plan? Yeah,
definitely. At the moment, I'm in the FF Corsa GT Driver Academy. So they specialise in Ferrari challenge cars, and they've helped me a lot and guiding me towards hopefully getting a seat in maybe GTs in the next few years. So definitely that's my aim. I want to be a factory driver in GTs. Yeah, and we'll see where that leads me to.
But even though you've moved away to cars, do you still pay a lot of attention to like the Alpha live streams of the karting?
100%. Whenever I'm not coaching, which is most weekends, I'm always watching the Alpha live streams, even if it's not when I'm racing. I'm literally bolted to the screen. Even a club event, I'll keep an eye on, because there's always drivers I know in it.
Yeah. And then I can see on your t-shirt as well, you're part of the Motorsport UK Academy. Yeah. I've previously been part of the Academy as well. It's a really good programme to be on for drivers coming through the ranks. Can you tell me a little bit about your progression with them?
So yeah, I first started with Motorsport UK at the end of 2021. So I joined the DICE course, which is the college course in Loughborough, and that was a 2-year course, and put me on a great progression pathway. I actually won the Driver of the Year last year, which is basically a shootout at the end of the 2 years.
Big achievement.
Which is a big achievement. That's before I was actually in cars, and managed to beat some car drivers as well. So that was a big achievement of mine, and they've also helped me get a lot of contacts as well in the sport, and without them I wouldn't have a job at iZone like I do now. So yeah, massively grateful.
And then the GP plate this weekend. I've asked pretty much all the drivers that have been in hot seat this weekend, what are you most looking forward to?
Just all the races. It's going to be tough. That's what I've signed up for. It's going to be tough. It's going to keep me sharp for all my car racing. But definitely the final is going to be what I'm most looking forward to. It's an endurance event at the end of the day, but got to race hard, race clean, and just see who comes out on top.
Great. That is Marcus Littlewood, Radical and Senior Driver. Oscar Repetto joins me in the live lounge chair. Oscar from Monaco, but I think you're not just from Monaco. Can you tell me a bit about it?
No, I'm not just from Monaco. I'm from Italy, New Zealand and Sweden as well.
So you've got a few passports going on then?
Yeah, a couple.
So you've joined us from Monaco this weekend. How come you've made that trip over to PF and to Kartmasters?
There's a lot of different reasons, but mostly because I've heard that it's really difficult to win this race weekend. So I wanted to take a new challenge and to race in X30 this weekend.
And I've noticed you've been over at PF a couple of times this year.
Yes.
I can only assume, are you getting ready for the FIA World Finals?
Yes, it's a little bit of practice, but also it's nice to race against different people in England, to see how the different driving styles and how different people race here.
What do you think of the competition in the UK, the standard? Do you think it's high?
Oh yeah, for like a national championship is one of the most difficult championships I've ever driven in. A very difficult championship.
And you've been out in OK as well, which is notoriously hard. With DPK. Can you tell us a bit about your journey with that team and within the OK category?
Well, in WSK we've been going very well. We've been doing a lot of good sessions, qualies, race weekends. In FIA it's been a little bit more difficult because we're trying to learn about the new tires, and also because I'm a little bit taller, it kind of kills the tires a little bit more than other people, shorter people. So yeah, it's a mixture of different things. But I think on this track, because there's not really 4 tall people this track, so I think I'll go really well here.
And then a bit of a technical question then for you, because I know in every category, so OK, X30, Rotax, things change, the tyres, the engines. Do you think it's tougher in any specific category with your height and the tyre?
OK Senior.
Yeah?
For sure. Because of the tyres, these new tyres are very difficult to use, but when you put them in the correct window, they can go.
Yeah.
But especially on the height, it just leans, it just kills the tyres. When you lean, like especially on fast-flowing circuits, it just kills the tyres, especially on your height.
Have you been able to get to any other circuits in the UK whilst you've been over here?
No.
No?
No, I've only been to PF. I don't know. I've no idea. Because maybe next year I do the British Championships altogether. I have no idea. Time will tell.
Okay then, and talking about where your roots come from, so Monaco, what's the motorsport scene like over there? I know there's a very famous Ferrari driver from that country, but what's the motorsport scene like back in Monaco?
Well, there's no tracks, but we're very close to a lot of tracks in Italy and in France. And there's actually quite a couple of drivers that drive for Monaco, that live in Monaco, but there's no tracks or anything, it's too small.
And this weekend, you're sporting the Alonso suit, but you're on a Birrell. What do you think of the Birrell and the Birrell specifically around PF?
It's very good in the hairpins.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why is that?
When you turn in, when you release the chassis going out of the corner, it turns really well. But also just testing different chassis. You know, you never know which one can go better in different tracks. So. Plus, a different tarmac has different surfaces, so you never know.
Do you find then, being a taller driver, is there much difference between chassis and your height? Is there any?
Yeah.
Do you find there's a better combination, or?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, there is. Definitely.
Okay. And then Kartmasters. Has anybody given you a heads up about how competitive it actually gets throughout the weekend?
Yeah, I heard there's a lot of accidents.
Okay.
I heard that it's a very difficult thing to win. It's
Yeah.
very difficult, I've heard.
And I've asked kind of all the drivers that I've interviewed in the live lounge so far today, I've asked them the same question at the end of their interview.
Yeah.
What are you most looking forward to this weekend?
To win. I'm here to win. This weekend I'm here to win.
Taking the GP plate back to Monaco?
Yeah. Maybe use it again next year.
Yeah?
Yeah, maybe.
Well, it's great to speak to you, Oscar. That's Oscar Repetto, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Back in the live lounge then, but this time with Senior X30 driver Harry Platten. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you.
2 Kartmasters Championship plates under your belt previously, 21 and 22. Can you tell us about that history?
Yeah, I mean, the first one was a little bit unexpected, and the second one was even more unexpected. But it was, I think the second one meant a little bit more just because we struggled all weekend.
Yeah.
But pulled it out the bag when it mattered.
And when you've got those GP plates after the weekend, how much does that mean as a driver?
It means a lot, and again, it puts a little bit more pressure on you just to try and reclaim the title the next year as well, and then obviously try and do well throughout the season.
Do you actually think having a GP plate already is more pressure than not having one?
Yeah, I'd say so. Going into the next year.
Would you say 2 plates is even more so than 1 plate?
I mean, going into trying to win it last year, yeah, and we came close again, just wasn't quite enough. So try again this year.
And then after you won in 2022, you've hung up the boots and the helmet, but you've come back as a one-off. What's it been like for you going over to the other side of the fence?
I missed it, and that's sort of the main reason why I did come back. But at the same time, it's nice teaching people how to be their best. So it's not.
Got Archie Owen.
Yeah.
How's he getting on?
Not too bad. Pace is there, just little bits and bobs that we need to work on, but the pace is not too bad.
And then this weekend and throughout your kart career, you've raced for your dad's team, BMR.
Yeah.
What's it like to be in a family-run team?
It's difficult. I'd say, I mean, I wouldn't know, but I'd say a lot more difficult than not being in a family-run team. But at the same time, I think when you bring success between both of you, it means even more then. So.
And then going back to your wins then, what would you say, through all the Kartmasters that you've done, how many have you done now?
I don't know.
Too many?
Yeah, I don't know.
Out of all of them that you've done, what are your best moments?
I'd say probably just winning the most recent one. Just due to the fact of how difficult the weekend was.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like this weekend, but.
Do you think the atmosphere changes at a Kartmasters compared to another big event that might go on?
Yeah, massively, because I feel like a lot of people hear about it, they turn up. There's a lot of people in the crowds from day one. Yeah. And it's just a one-off meeting. You don't want to finish second, third. You want to win the race. So.
It's one of those events nobody remembers who finished second.
Yeah, exactly.
But you have got your name with some of the greats, you know, Barney, Russell, Danny Curl, there's Litchfield, there's so many people, and you are one of those in the history books.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you don't really think about.
No?
Especially when you sort of go into trying to win another one, all you want to do is win the most recent one, and that's it. I don't really think about.
And every driver that's come in here so far today, I've asked them the same question to kind of round off their interviews. What are you most looking forward to this weekend?
The final.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Another GP plate?
Hopefully. We'll see.
Thanks, Harry. That's
Thank you.
Senior X30 driver Harry Platten. Next up in the hot seat is Taylor Orridge, 2023 Junior X30 winner at the GP plate. How are you feeling, Tay?
Yeah, I'm feeling quite calm. It's just a very long weekend overall. It's very spread out in the races, and you know, we've got 2 qualifyings. We've only had 1 quali so far, so it's quite early in the weekend. There's like a lot to come, you know what I mean?
Do you think you come into Kartmasters with a different mindset compared to other rounds because it's that one-off big special event?
Yeah, obviously, like at the end of the day, everyone knows it's crash or win. Really, like what else is there really to do? You just want to take the GP. There's not really else to fight for. Like you get fourth, and then you go on to the next. It isn't like there's no championship points or anything attached to it.
Yeah. And do you think, you know, when you're racing, can you feel a difference in the way people race?
It's obviously not yet. It's quite early in the week, and everyone wants to stay consistent because everyone knows you have to be up there for the big race. You know what I mean? Which could be on Sunday, but on Sunday, I think it's quite ruthless. I'm not gonna lie. There's gonna be a lot of crashing. Gonna be hard overtakes. There's gonna be, you know what I mean? Everyone just wants to win, really.
And we've seen you come into the 2024 season with a lot of confidence. You're a confident driver and character, but that 2023 GP plate win, what did that do for you and your kart career?
It kind of boosted it a bit. Obviously, it gave us confidence to go next. Personally, we have the big breakthrough at Shennington British. That's because we got our first win, and then we came to Kartmasters. We won that as well, and it kind of just boosted confidence ever since.
So like the Shenny win was almost a knock-on effect to Kartmasters, and then like the ball was just rolling?
Yeah, because I knew that I had it in me to go and do what I did. It kept rolling throughout the rest of the year, and then the confidence just grew from that. And obviously now I'm just driving around at the front. We're at the sharp end now, and that's about it.
And what do you think of driving at the track? Do you enjoy PF as a circuit?
At least not at Shennington, I'm not gonna lie. Last weekend, man, that needs to get off the calendar, personally. 4 corners, defending, it's just a recipe for crashing. But, you know, this is the best track in the country. Everyone's good here because of how long everyone comes here. It's the best track. Everyone does loads of laps around. So that's what makes it so close. Other tracks that people don't go to, like the final round at Wigan, I've never been, but obviously some people live around there, they grew up there, so they're obviously going to be better. But everyone's good at PF, and it shows the best drivers really because of how much everyone comes here.
And then we've got obviously the FIA World Finals here later on in September. Are you considering a bit of a wild card appearance, or are you going to be just here and watching?
Obviously I think we'll do quite well. You know, it's our home track. The Brits are known for being quite hard racers, but it's just the kit that everyone's got. We'll be going into it. It's like some of the OK boys that have come over here. They haven't done as well because they're not like loyal to the class. They don't have the kit. They just come up and like they don't have the kit that we do properly. And obviously, if I go over there, it's a much bigger scene. I don't think we'd have the kit and everything underneath us to do as well. Like I think we'd do all right. Obviously, we know the track. We're quite a hard racer, but it's just purely the understanding of how to drive the car, the tyre. It's a completely different thing. And to go into a weekend like Worlds, it's going to be so hard if we do.
What do you think of the car in Junior X30? Do you think it's a difficult class to actually drive?
Yeah, well, the tyres from last year have changed for this year, and it's just a lot different the way that we have to drive it. You know, you can't. Last year you can go in and put a lot of force on the tyre. This year you have to be quite smooth with the tyre wall, make sure they don't grain. It's just a very different sort of mindset that you have to go into. You know, if you're sat second last year, you'd be full attacking the corners to get to the lead. But now it's just kind of you lay off, you let your tyres chill. Because if you over push, then the drop off from, if you over push, then it will just be so bad. You know what I mean? You just got to manage everything like carefully.
And then away from kind of the more serious questions, when you get a win, is it true that you get a kebab on the way home? Is that going to be, are you going to be taking a kebab home on Sunday night?
No, I had a mixed kebab last night. Oh. I had a tikka and doner meat with some fries. Ate most of it, you know, got into bed. Despite it, really. That's how the weekend goes. Make sure I'm all full for the next day because I don't really like eating during the day because it kind of just makes me feel a bit sick.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've always had a problem where I just eat, I'll just feel sick. Like at Shennington on the Sunday at 8 and I was sick like twice before the races. So it's kind of a thing where I have to kind of gauge what I eat, and I can only kind of lightly snack.
That's quite interesting, actually. And do you think that's actually a nerves thing, or maybe just you got so much adrenaline throughout the weekend?
Yeah, obviously it's a bit of both. The nerves aren't really high because I was sick before the warm-up, so it's not really like...
You're not nervous for warm-up?
Yeah, it's not really... But it's just like whenever I do stuff, I'll start to feel really sick before if I eat, but I just have to make sure I drink plenty of water, keep myself hydrated.
So you manage it quite well then. You know what you need and you can deal with it.
Yeah, like I wouldn't be able to go and eat like a full like
roast
a wrap or something. Yeah, from the calf. I'll have to I'll snack on things throughout the day. Like make sure I do have a bit of food, and then I don't like breakfast either. It always makes you feel sick, so I just have to go and have a big meal when I'm home, which is why the kebab comes in. And
yes. The kebab and the fries.
Yeah.
Big dinner. And then this weekend, then I'm asking every driver the same question: what are you most looking forward to at Kartmasters 2024?
Just the crashing. You know what I mean?
Not the winning, the crashing.
Well, yeah, obviously I want to win, but like so far it's been qualifying and people have already been crashing down the main straight. You know, people are just...
In a straight line?
Yeah, all down the straight in qualifying in Rotax. I was sat there watching and they were just crashing into each other. It's just funny, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of drivers. It's like the biggest event in the UK. So all the crashing really, it's just good to watch. You know, you watch it back like maybe a year later or something and you're like, that happened. Do you know what I mean?
Well, you are a contender for a second plate this year to join those names like Harry Platten, who has done that before. Thanks for your time, Taylor.
Hey, Mum.
Joining me in the live lounge is 2021 and 22 X30 Junior World Champion Gabe Stilp. Gabe, good to have you at Kartmasters.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Just been testing a bit, getting used to the kart again because I've not been in it for so long. Just, yeah, just doing it for a bit of fun. Hopefully win.
So you've left karting because you've gone over to Formula 4. How's that Formula 4 journey been so far?
I was a bit of a late call last year doing it. So obviously I started doing racing in 2023 and then decided to do F4 because we had funding and stuff. So we decided to do F4, did a few test days. I think we did about 7 days before the first round. So we didn't have much experience, but yeah, it's been a very good experience. Obviously, very good towards the end of the year. Pace was good. And then we did UAE at the start of this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I won one race.
Was that pretty spectacular to be out in the UAE and in an F4 paddock?
Yeah, it was really good. It was very nice and warm. Yeah, it was just amazing. Yeah, so we had different tyres and stuff, so it was just getting our head around that. A lot of different drivers all across the country. So yeah, very difficult series, probably one of the hardest.
And then when you come back into the paddock in karting, because you've got, you know, your family run crop promotion, do you find now then that you're a world champion and you've gone and done F4, do you find like some of the younger kids actually really look up to you now?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm not really sure, but I'm not really sure. They might do. I don't know. Depends.
And then the family run team, you know, you're under the guidance of your dad and your brothers. How's that been growing up and coming through the ranks with that?
So obviously my dad owns the team, so it's been a different experience to other people being in crop the whole time, considering my dad owns the team and stuff with Simon. And yeah, I had my mechanic was my brother sometimes, but yeah, we didn't really get along. We bickered quite a bit, so I got a different mechanic for like 2022. But yeah, my brother, I looked up to my brother a lot, Jacob, racing, because he was very good. So yeah, I looked up to him when I was younger.
Yeah. You know, you said you looked up to Jacob. What did he do? I know he did some cars, is that right?
Yeah, he did a bit of cars, and then karting he was quite good. I think he was third in British on a very hard year with difficult drivers. He did a bit of okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We've seen you have a lot of success throughout karting, you know, like mentioned a few times, you're two-time world champion. But Kartmasters, you've never quite managed to take that GP plate home. Do you think this is the weekend?
I'd like to think so. I'm quite positive that I could do it with my pace. But yeah, just see how the heats go, just stay calm, just give it all in the final.
Do you come in with a different mentality then, do you think, considering you're just doing it as a one-off this year?
Yeah, I definitely, different mentality, like, just, I've got to go for it really, considering it will probably be one of my last kart races.
Well, we'll see if you can go for it this weekend, Gabe.
Yeah,
Best of
hopefully.
luck. That's Gabriel Stilp. Aiden Neate joins me in the Kartmasters Live Lounge. Aiden, ex-factory Tony Kart driver, and you've come into mechanicking now alongside a race career. How's it going for you?
Yeah, it's all good. To be honest, it's been a bit different coming back to the paddock because when I went to Tony Kart in 2020, I hadn't been back to the British karting paddock since. So I come back to work with Caden McQueen, which has been quite cool actually. He's been a friend of mine for forever. So it's different though because you go from being their friend to like they're still your friend, but then like you're working with them. So like, but it's nice because the driver I'm with, you still have like that connection with, which is always good because when you go to work, you want to be able to just speak as your friend. So
do you find then, even though you are friends, if you get something wrong or he gets something wrong, does that like kind of mess with the friendship a bit? Or
no, I don't think so. I think it's fine. Like you always know when you like with certain things, you just take the friendship out of it to an extent.
Yeah.
So, but like, touch wood, we've not had anything go to that point
no
yet.
Chain
We've had no chain, not yet. Oh no, don't say that now. Don't say that
is
now.
There any wood
yeah, I need a bit of wood.
Touch wood.
Touch wood. Yeah, God, don't say that now. But yeah, no, honestly, it's been quite nice because I hadn't seen him for years either, but he lives 5 minutes away from me as well.
It's always the case in motorsport, isn't it?
Yeah.
You like probably in the paddock with somebody for 4 days, and on the Sunday, that's the first time you've seen them. It's like, I didn't realise you were here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then your journey through karting, you know, you were a factory driver for Tony Kart, had a lot of success. You've raced in Kartmasters, but then you went to Formula 4, did a bit of F3. What was that like?
Yeah, to be honest, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
Until now, yeah, it's been some journey. So I started karting properly when I was 8. Back my first year of British karting was with Fusion Motorsport when I came and did Kartmasters for the first time. So yeah, it's been a while. It feels like it's been a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah, worked my whole way through European karting, world level karting, and then made the jump into cars after the 2020 season with Tony Kart. And then since then, it's just don't stop. You know, it's just like. But when you want to make it your life, you fall in love with something, you enjoy every second of it. You don't want to look back. And then joined Alpine as well, which was that was pretty amazing.
Big deal.
Yeah, unfortunately we've had to part ways with them, so I haven't raced now in the last year. But still, whilst I'm here, you never know. Like you walk around, you see familiar faces, you have conversations. So you just trying to keep in touch and trying to get back on track.
I think as well, with your talent and your record, it's one of those things where you just got to be in the right space. And hopefully we'll see you back in a car paddock, and it's good to have you in a kart paddock as well. Like you said, I think it's quite a community, and you come back into it after a few years, and it's like same faces. You know what? I couldn't believe it. So like you always know it's the same people in the teams, but. When I came back, my first race with Caden was in Campios at the start of the year. Yeah. And I walked into the paddock, and within the first half an hour, I said hello to probably 20 people. I'd not seen them in 5 years, but you feel like you've known them because you spend so much time with them when you're with them. You don't see them for 5 years, but you feel like you saw them yesterday. Yeah. So yeah, it's just the same. So it is cool because you come back and you still have the same sort of groups and bubbles of people. Of course, people change and. Grew up, I'm a lot taller than I was last time I was here, but it's just nice. It's just nice to come back and see the same people. And as a driver who's raced at national, European and world level, what do you think of Kartmasters? Oh, it's cool. It's just got that aura to it. You know, there's not a lot of championships where people race 2 classes. Especially when you're younger and you come here, it's the Grand Prix. It's so everybody's excited for the Grand Prix. So, but. In karting, this is it. This is especially in the UK, but people still come from everywhere to come and do it. Like I see names on the grid this week, which I don't think have ever raced in England before, but they come and do this one because it just has that sort of ring to it, doesn't it? So it is good. It is good, and it's nice to do it with someone I know well. But I'm hoping we can try and bring back a GP plate or 2 this week. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see you as a GP plate winning mechanic. I hope so. Be my first one. Thanks, Aiden. Thank you. Another guest in our Kartmasters Live Lounge this afternoon is young driver from the UAE, Atiqa Mir. Atiqa, are you enjoying Kartmasters so far?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
And why have you decided to come over to the UK to race?
Because the British karting championship is a really hard championship, and like if you go into harder championships, you'll become a better driver. So I just came here for the Kartmasters here.
So you're with GGM in Water Swift Restricted.
Yeah.
How do you find the Water Swift class and the Miami racing?
The class is very difficult, and I gained 1 position, so I'm happy with that. And the class is very difficult, but it's a bit slower than our, like, for example, if the top speed here is 88, we do 92 in Dubai.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a bit slower. And I like the ages are very similar. Like, it's not like in Dubai it's from 8 to 12, but here it's like 8 to 10. So I like the category as well.
Yeah. So you're with GGM. How do you find the team, and what do they do for you on a weekend to make you fast?
We do lots of data, and they analyze me really well. So, like, my mechanic is the one who coaches me in Dubai. His name is Ash. So I really like him, and he's been my mechanic throughout the UAE season, and I'm really happy to be mechanicking with him.
Yeah? And then, am I right in saying a few weeks ago you raced in the Rotax category in Europe? Can you tell me a bit about that and a bit about your international racing?
Yeah, so in the RMCIT in Le Mans, I won a heat there, and I'm really proud to be the first female ever to win a race there. And the category is really hard, of course, because all the best drivers from around the world have come to drive at RMCIT at Le Mans, so I feel really proud to win a heat there.
So that's a huge achievement to be the first female to do that. That's absolutely fantastic. Are there any other girls in motorsport that you look up to?
I don't really look up to girls in motorsport. I normally look up like to Max Verstappen in the F1.
Yeah.
So, and many other drivers in F1 as well. So I'm hoping to get there one day.
Is that your goal, Formula One? And do you think, you know, the first female to win a race, as you said a few weeks ago in that event, do you think you could be the first female to get to Formula One?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how you get on this weekend. Very best of luck, and hopefully we'll see you in Formula One one day.
Thank you.
Over in the live lounge, I'm joined by female driver Lizzy Mentier, who's also on the Alpine Academy. Lizzy, how's your start to Kartmasters been?
It's been all right. In practice, we were really fast on Thursday, and then today's been a rough start. We qualified 10th and then 19th overall, so it's going to be a bit of a race to get through to the front, and then hopefully we can get through.
I think, did you have a bit of bad luck at Kartmasters last year? What do you think of the event as a whole?
It's a good event. It goes on for a long time. It was hot last year, it's hot this year. So, yeah, it's a good event.
And I think the last time a female won a final here was in 2011. Gabriel Stilp won the Honda Cadet, but do you reckon you could be the next girl to win it this year?
Possibly. If I've good luck behind me, then yeah, I can definitely get there.
Got the pace?
Definitely.
And then moving on to maybe like the Alpine Academy. So you're a driver with them, part of their Racer Program. How did that partnership come about, and what are they doing for you?
It came around on my birthday last year. I went down
birthday
to,
present.
Yeah, I went down to their sort of headquarters.
Yeah.
And they had like a slight interview with me and what my answers were going to be, and then it just progressed from there. And I got my contract at the start of the year. And then they just support me, like obviously they're backing me with everything. Like I've got a mind coach, I'm getting loads of help from the track, and then loads of support from outside.
Yeah. And the long-term goal then with the Alpine Academy, what do you want to try and achieve? What is their goal for you?
I think the goal is to get to the highest. I think I've got quite a lot of potential, so hopefully I get to Formula One racing against men.
Yeah.
And that's the end goal.
And you're in a mixed grid here, you know, and you prove weekend in, weekend out that, you know, girls can do it. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. There's multiple girls up there at the top, so yeah.
And then, so there's other drivers here this weekend who are also on the Alpine Academy. Sukmani Kira, do you kind of work, not together, but do you see what she's doing? Does she look up to you? You know, she's a younger driver. the Alpine Academy, does that help that to happen?
Not necessarily. We kind of have our own ways. Obviously we speak and whatnot.
Yeah.
And we have multiple group chats on WhatsApp where everyone's connected and we all talk on it. So yeah, I would say in a sense, sort of.
Yeah. And then going into DHR, they give a lot of support to you. You're one of their drivers and have been for, you know, coming up to, is it almost half a year kind of thing?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So within DHR, Dan Holland, Ross Carter, Sean Carter, what are they doing for you?
Putting loads of support in, obviously getting all the engines ready and making sure I'm fast on track, and putting loads of support in, getting the kart ready and whatnot. And since I've joined, I've definitely changed. I'm definitely up there more.
Yeah.
So it's a very good team to be in.
Changed as in how you drive the kart or how you race? What's changed for you?
Definitely my aggression. I'd say I'm more aggressive than what I used to be.
Yeah. Elbows out?
Yeah, definitely. But obviously with me changing chassis and whatnot and different teams, with it being a bigger team, there's more support that can get given to me.
Yeah.
As we struggled last year, but this year we're definitely up there, and the support is amazing.
And then Kartmasters then this weekend, like you said, it's a long weekend, it's full on, but what are you looking to achieve?
Just a top 10. Last year I didn't get to even start the final.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping a top 10 would be amazing.
Hopefully we'll see you in the top 10 then. That's Lizzy Mentier. In the live lounge again, this time with Riley Cranham, who this weekend is going to be racing in Junior Rotax and Junior X30. Welcome, Riley. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, thanks.
And how's your quali's been going this morning? I think you've had some good results.
Yeah, it's been all right so far today. Qualified pole overall in Junior Rotax, and then in the first heat in Junior Rotax I got first, and then X30 qualified fifth, and then I got fourth in my first heat.
And am I right in saying that you've actually won Kartmasters twice previously?
Yes, I have.
Can you tell us about those wins?
Well, it was 2 years ago in Water Shift and Cadet. It was the best day ever for me. Just the enjoyment of winning both at once is just amazing.
And then coming back this year, your last win here was in a cadet class. So, you know, very different in juniors, but probably equally as competitive. You looking for a win again?
I think every driver on the grid's looking for a win. It's going to be hard because there's loads of good ones. I mean, that's all I'm aiming for, is to win.
And do you think when you come to Kartmasters, there's a big difference between this event and others around the UK?
I think every event around the UK is really hard, but I think this is the hardest one.
What makes it so difficult, do you reckon?
Because it's one race and everyone wants the GP plate, so everyone's just going to try and make their way through it.
And even though they are in cadet classes, do you think your 2 wins puts more pressure on you to try and win this weekend, or does it not matter as such?
It puts more pressure on me than some of the other drivers, but it's not a whole amount.
Okay, and then within your class, I've asked a few other drivers this question, but is there anybody specifically you are kind of looking at as a benchmark, or you are looking to beat?
Well, in X30, everyone wants to beat Mackie because he's doing so well this season. Yeah. And in Rotax, at the moment, I'd probably go off Bartle because I think he's winning the championship.
And you don't normally race in Rotax, so how are you finding that change?
It's been a fun change. The karts are totally different, so it's been hard just adjusting from kart to kart.
When you then, in between your sessions today, when you're jumping from the X30 and the Rotax, do you ever find yourself kind of coming out the pits and thinking, oh, that's different, or is it quite natural for you?
It's been quite natural at the moment. I haven't been anxious or worried to get back into a different kart.
Yeah. And then this weekend, kind of what are you looking forward to the most? I know it's such a hard question because there's a lot that goes on at this event, but...
I mean, obviously the best part of the weekend would be to win, but as long as you're up there in the final, it'll be all right.
And then have you got any maybe specific Kartmasters best moments other than your wins? Even if it's in another class?
Not really, no.
No? Well, best of luck to you, Riley. We'll see how you get on in both classes. That's Junior Rotax and Junior X30, Riley Cranham. In the live lounge this afternoon, I'm joined by Guy Cunnington. Guy, 2021 GP plate winner. Can we maybe get a bit of a time machine, travel back in time to 21? Can you tell me about that win?
Yeah, it was a really good race. It was a really fun race. Obviously, carnage as always. So staying out of that in the first like 12 minutes is probably is key, and then you do whatever you can in the last 3 minutes, and it's kind of a whatever it takes to cross the line first and deal with the rest afterwards sort of race.
And you said it's carnage. Why do you think that goes on at Kartmasters?
The reputation for one never really helps the, like, obviously it's got a good reputation for the event, but I mean like the reputation of it being a one-off race where it's the only prize is for winning, so it's obviously, whereas obviously the championship you think about the points and you'll take a second and take points over your rival, whatever, that does not happen here. So the last few laps you've got to do whatever you can do to get that, and that's what we done a couple of years ago. We led a lot of it, we got knocked back. I think going into the last lap I was like 5th or something, and then we sort of like fought back through, and then there was a bit of carnage in front which helped, and then obviously won the race. So.
And then being on that wall of drivers like Russell and Behrman, Mark Litchfield, who've all got GP plates under their belts, does that give you confidence when you go Kartmasters to Kartmasters? Like,
yeah, it's nice. It's nice to know when you see some of the people that have won it. It's nice to see that your name's on that list with them. I think that the style of this race sort of plays into my hands a little bit with my style of driving. So
what is that?
I just enjoy the like get stuck in races rather than the sort of it spreads out a little bit and you're catching on genuine pace. I think quite a few people know that that's not my my number one. So the scrappier the better, and we'll definitely be in the chance.
You like being in that train where you can pick people off, but it's one big line of drivers? Yeah,
if there's a train of 10 karts and I'm in the middle of it, I'm in my happy zone.
So if you're 5th, you're happiest?
Yeah, I just, if it's close, I'm happy. If there's a bit of a gap to someone and I've got to close that gap down, obviously it's possible, I can do it. I've done it all before and that, but I'd rather it was close and we're in the battle and getting stuck in.
And you're in quite a unique position as well, because you're not only racing, you're racing for the team that you own. So you're with Guy Carrington Racing, you've got your name on the awning. How do you manage that throughout a weekend, especially a weekend like this where it's pretty full on?
Yeah, it's not easy. I think obviously racing for Strawberry for the last however long that's been in the previous years, just turn up with a helmet and drive around the track is the best way to get the results. But obviously now doing this from a different perspective, really enjoying it. It's going really well. We're getting the results, so we're doing a good enough job. It's hard to manage. I've got to put the time in to everyone else and obviously get them. But also they also like it as well because they can use my data and footage through the practices to learn themselves. So it is two-sided. Almost
like you being out on track, even though it's probably a little bit harder to manage, is actually a massive benefit to your team as a whole, because you get to try the setups, try the corners and say, well, actually, no, this is going to work. Would you agree? Yeah, 100%. Like on weekends where I'm like watching and just running the team, I've got a lot of knowledge from the tracks over the years I've raced, but also I'm not in the seat, and as the track like this weekend, the track's massively rubbered up every session, and then you get to qualifying and it's really grippy. Yeah. And then all of a sudden heat 1, the grip sort of like is gone, and well, it's not gone, but it's fell away a bit more, and you're sort of a second a lap slower, and you've got to drive differently. From experience, I can sort of tell them that. But on a weekend I'm actually driving, I can actually feel it. I can come back and just go like, bang, this is what it's doing, and this is how we need to drive a kart differently to perfect a race distance over a 1 lap qualifying fast lap. You said a minute ago Strawberry Racing, so you were with Straubs, you had a lot of success with them, you were contending for British and European championships. Why did you decide to set up your own team? You're still really young, are you 22? So you've got a lot of time left in karting. Why decide in your early 20s to set up a team and just branch off? For me, it's all about the enjoyment of it. Not that I didn't enjoy where I was. I did massively enjoy it. We won a European Championship together. We competed in grand finals together, and we won't go there. But obviously a British Championship and the European stuff I won with them. And I kind of felt a bit like, okay, let's try something different. So I loved every minute I spent with them. They were amazing to me. So I got
lots of time for everyone at Strawberry, but I just felt like I've done a decent stint there, won a lot. I was like, let's try something new that no one else is doing. Well, now obviously, yeah, but just trying the new thing of racing and doing the team and trying to build something myself was the next challenge in my career. So
I think it's quite special though that we have seen in the past maybe 5 years drivers at the front set up their own teams, but you're doing it even in a different way. You're staying in the seat, like we just spoke about. So I think that's quite a special thing to be doing.
Yeah, it wasn't originally the plan. I was going to just do the odd race.
Just couldn't stay away from it.
It was this weird thing. When on the weekends I was in the car, I didn't want to be in the car. I was focused on the team, and then the weekends I was away from it, I really missed it.
Yeah.
And then I come back to it last year properly, just doing like competing in obviously the British Champs and doing these sorts of races. And I think just taking a step back a little bit and not racing every week like I was before. Like now I only really do the British rounds, O-Plate, GP, those, and then maybe a test for each of the rounds. So I do sort of 13, 14 races a year rather than like 3, 4 a month. And I think just settling down and focusing on the team half the time and then racing myself half the time has just really made me enjoy this sport again. So
yeah. And one final question for you. I've asked every driver the same one. What are you most looking forward to this weekend at Kartmasters?
The final. My weakness is out of the way now, the lap time qualifying bit. Now we're stuck into the racing. I was started 14th, which is not not where I want to be starting, of course, but as this race is like sort of famous for, I started 14th and I've had a 3rd and a 2nd in my heat, so just the nature of the racing, like I said before, really plays into my hands, and we've had 2 strong results from a fairly average qualifying. So obviously as the week goes on, we've got another go at qualifying tomorrow, so we'll see how that goes, and then obviously 2 more heats, which I'm really looking forward to. And then yeah, I just want to get stuck into the final now and get away with that.
Well, thanks, Guy. We'll see if it plays into your hands.
Thank you.
David Higgins joins me in the Kartmasters Live Lounge, ex-Subaru factory driver. David, can you tell me a bit about your karting to cars career?
Yeah, I started off in karts back in 1985. I used to race mainly in the Isle of Man, which is where I was from. And then I went on doing some British Championship events at the same time, like David Coulthard and Dario Franchitti and those guys. And then got the chance, rallying was what my grandparents had done and my parents had done, and obviously my brother had gone up to got really quick to a factory level driving, and then I got given the chance to have a go at rallying. I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do it because I knew I couldn't afford to do it properly. And at the time, karting was way more achievable, like budget-wise. But I won a shootout for drive, then won the championship and got a factory drive with Peugeot after my first year. And then I guess the rest is history, really. Went up through the British ranks, did Asian Pacific stuff, some world events, and then for the last 10 years was all out in America.
And was it 10 American championships?
10 American championships, yeah. There's only one I didn't win, but I actually finished on equal points. So that one I didn't win still bothers me more than the 10 I won.
Do you ever reckon they'd let you jump back in just to win it?
Probably not now. I think I was never really planning on stopping it. It was just unfortunately COVID hit at a wrong time. And I couldn't travel and travel restrictions, and it was just at the same time as well where Matthew was like in a position to have a go at winning the British Championship. So I was almost ready for a bit of a break and a year out, but that year out's now become 4 or 5 years. So I'd love to go back and do something again, but it's got to be the right. When you've been in a position where you've been in a factory car and winning at the highest level, just going and doing an event just for the fun of it isn't really
not the same.
It's not the same, no.
And you find yourself back in a kart paddock because your son Matthew races. What's that been like, getting him through the ranks? Has it been teacher-student or?
Yeah, I think it's hard because obviously I know the business side of how a driver feels way more than probably most mechanics or most karting dads do. So we have a really good relationship with the track. It's definitely not like a dad and son relationship. It's way more as mates and different things. But it's learning when you can speak to your driver, when you can't speak to them, how things are going really. But also Matthew, he's very, very quick and very talented, but there's a way where you have to tell him things that it's got to be at the right time in the right moment and different things. But I think every driver is the same really, but it's been mega to see how well he's done, and obviously then progressed to the cars that he's done this year. and I get way more satisfaction. I'm way prouder of what he's achieved than what I did for anything myself, really.
And he's jumped to GT racing as well this year, and he's had some success, some wins. Do you ever find yourself then, Matt actually is teaching you things about racing?
He still thinks he can beat me, but I still reckon I can give him a good go. So we'll maybe one day we can go and do a GT race together at some point. That'd be amazing if we could do a long race together. But at the moment, it's full focus to try and keep getting him to the next level, and then I'll maybe jump in, have a go. But he's a lot quicker on a sim than me. But I think that's because you don't have to be brave on a sim. So I still think I could hold my own in a real thing.
And then you used to do a lot of karting yourself. You had success in that. Do you ever reckon you could jump back into a kart and give it a good go?
I would like to have a go. Like I raced, I think last year I did one race, and the year before I did one race. And it was only a very club level, but I did manage to win those 2 races. But the level that these guys are at here, it's just such a different. Like the way they can do the same time and time again, it's just so hard now to be at the front in karting. It's probably one of the hardest sports in the world, really. And I think a lot of people take that for granted. A lot of people get into cars because they've got the finances to do it. But if you can be at the front of a kart race, you can be at the front of literally any motorsport going. So I wouldn't want to race him in a kart anyway, that's for sure. No.
And then as a parent, you know, Kartmasters is probably the biggest event in the UK of the year. How do you see Matt change on a Kartmasters week?
I think it's he's normally pretty the same, but I think you've got to be a little bit more ruthless. When you're going for a championship, you're obviously driving for points all the time, where here you just got to keep yourself hopefully out of trouble. But unfortunately that's not gone our way. We just got taken out in the last heat. But unfortunately that is Kartmasters. You're going to have setbacks. So sometimes it's a very hard race to win from the front, because the momentum always comes from the rear going forward. So obviously we've had a setback today, so we're definitely going to be coming from further back than what we'd like. But there's still 4 more races to go before we get to the final. So I'm sure we'll be okay. But it's just we're now in a position where we've got to take every advantage we can get. So it's a fun race, because it is a one-off. Every driver wants to win it, probably more than any other single race they do. But at the same time, you could be the best driver in the world, but you definitely need a lot of luck on this. We've come really close and got one corner from the end where we thought we had it, and then ended up in the barrier. So it's definitely a race where luck is you've got to be in the right place at the right time, but luck does play a bit of a point as well. So let's see how things go on Sunday and see how it goes.
Well, thanks for your time, David.
Thank you.
I'm in the live lounge with Cole Denham, who's our 2023 Minimax GP plate winner. Cole, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling quite confident.
Yeah? And your win last year, how much did that mean to you?
Yeah, I've always dreamed of it. As 2022, I lost my licence, which wasn't the best of races. It was probably the most downfall in my career, so hopefully I can replicate last year's this year, really.
And you're confident that you can do that, but in this time juniors?
Yeah, hopefully. I've not had the best of qualifying, as I had a crash in the start-finish line. So just need to make my way through the packs and hopefully come out on top in the final.
And I think I'd be right in saying you're the youngest junior on the grid. You've got a dispensation to race in that class. How come you decided to jump up instead of staying minis for another year?
I felt like going to junior, as I won quite a lot last year. So I had to get a bit more of a challenge to into my later stages of my career.
And you went out to Europe at the start of the year with a different team in a different category to Rotax. But now you're back and you're back with DHR. How much do you enjoy being part of DHR?
Yeah, I think DHR is really, really good. I think it's one of the best teams there is. And yeah, I'm really happy. Yeah.
And then I think you've got a bit of a mate in DHR, in Higwig, you like to call him.
Yeah.
How's your relationship with Matt Higgins, and what does he do for you?
Yeah, he's coaching me a lot, and yeah.
Just your mate, mostly?
Yeah.
Yeah? And this weekend then, what are you most looking forward to seeing in the racing? Either in your class or in a different category?
I like to see big hacks and people coming out on top, really.
And do you think you're going to be in some big hacks?
Yeah.
And do you reckon you'll be on the top?
Yeah, hopefully.
That's Cole Denham, everybody. Thanks, Cole.
You're welcome.
In the live lounge, I'm joined by Danny Curl, 2017 World Champion and 2-time GP plate holder. Danny, how's your Kartmasters been so far?
I think I prefer driving in it rather than on the stands.
Yeah.
But it's okay, not too bad. I've got a little boy doing 2 classes, so the one class is going well, the other one's a bit more difficult, but hoping a better day for Saturday and a day that actually counts Sunday. So we'll see.
Kartmasters is probably one of the biggest one-off events like in the world, other than you've got the World Championships, but it's huge.
Yeah.
What do you think sets it apart from other one-off races?
I think the level, one, a lot of strong drivers come and do this race. I think especially being at PFI, so it's our best track in England really.
Yeah.
Facilities wise and also the layout of the track and everything. So yeah, the level for one attracts other drivers in, and the intensity of it as well. You start on Thursday and then you got already into heats Friday, heats again Saturday. Yeah, it's a lot of racing to try and stay all the way at the front until the very end, which is obviously Sunday afternoon.
And you've won this event twice, but what are some of your best Kartmasters moments, either in your own racing or that you've actually watched?
Yeah, the best one for me was when I won the Senior X30, because I started the pre-final from back in like 20th or something like that.
Yeah.
So that was really fun, to try and come through, and that was probably the best one for me. Watching it, I don't know. I've always liked as a kid watching like Michael Simpson and Mark Litchfield and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Racing at the front, they're proper drivers, like proper drivers. It's every single lap within a tenth, no messing about. So that was probably the highlight for me when I was watching them back when I was a kid. So I try and teach young kids now to try and watch the older ones, because you learn a lot just from watching on the sides.
Yeah.
A lot of them are on the iPad now, just playing a bit of Scrabble or something. But that's what I try and get them to do. Yeah, try and get them to do that. But yeah, that's one of the best.
Do you ever find yourself close to submitting a bit of a wild card Kartmasters entry?
I do. But then I also eat too much every evening, and I know that if I go out there, I might do one quick lap, but I'm not going to do 22 quick laps,
No,
which is
15-minute final.
Yeah, I mean, I always, every time I'm still on the side and I watch a good race, I think, oh, that'd be nice to be in it. But I know for a fact that I'd have to shred a bit of weight and do a bit of practice before.
And then you're here this weekend with Daniel Ferguson, one of the younger drivers at the track here this weekend, 9 years old. What potential do you see in Daniel going forward, and what are you doing with him through his early career?
It's hard to say. I mean, obviously, very young.
Yeah.
Kids nowadays start, a little bit too young for me.
Yeah.
When I first met Danny, he had, the problem is he started even younger than that, so he had a lot of bad habits. So it was quite difficult to try and get him out of that. And now he's come out of it and he's starting to be towards the front in his class. So obviously, the first aim is to win the class that you're in.
Yeah.
Then, next year he's got to move up to the next one, and you start the whole process again. But he's coming on leaps and bounds, and I think if he really, puts his all into it, then sky's the limit. But you never know until 10, 11, 12, when they really start going up through the junior ranks. That's when you really see if they're going to be a proper driver or not. When they're that young, it's a little bit that the wind changes direction and they don't know what's going on.
Looking at the sky.
Yeah.
And then he's doing both this weekend, so Micro Max and water restricted.
Yeah.
Tongue teaser? What's the phrase? Tongue twister.
Tongue twister, yeah.
Why is he doing both and not just focusing on water restricted?
A little bit was because obviously it's quite a drawn out event, so you have quite a long time period between races. So a lot of kids try and do a little bit of both. We wasn't going to do it, but because it was exactly the same tyre as the restricted and the Micro Max is both on the Vega, so it's not like a difference in that. The only difference is the engine, which also is a big difference, the power delivery and everything. But he's at the early stages, so he needs to. There's no point being fast if you can't race.
Yeah.
And if he's obviously water swift, he does all year, so he's got speed in that. Micro Max he hasn't done all year. This is his first race, so he's not quite going to have the speed, but he's got to race hard.
Yeah.
And that's something that he needs to. All kids need to learn how to race. If you could be 2 tenths quicker than everybody else, but if you get beaten up and shuffled back, it doesn't matter. They're already gone. By the time you get through, they're gone. So it's quite good to try and learn how to race as well as be fast. And I think also being able to adapt from one to another helps you when the track changes grip or something, you know, you can adapt to it straight away. So obviously it's going to take time, but you know, the one we want him to win is obviously the restricted.
Yeah.
He's done that all year. Micro Max is just have a bit of fun and learn what you can.
Yeah, go and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, he's finding it difficult. He can't really, fitness-wise, he can't really hang on.
Yeah.
For that long, but I don't know. We see it. Like in any case, just a bit of fun, the Micro Max, but we'll see how it goes in the end.
And then, other than watching Daniel race, is there anything you're looking forward to watching this weekend? Any specific class?
I always love the seniors.
Yeah.
I always love watching the seniors. Yeah, senior X30, Senior Max, Junior X30, Junior Max. I always love watching them. And also, to be fair, I do love watching the Water Swift as well, the Inter. They're always so close.
Yeah.
It's a great race. We'll see what happens. I imagine there'll be a lot of crashing as well. So it's got to be a bit of crashing at Kartmasters.
Well, thanks for your time, Danny.
That's right.
Welcome to day 2 of Kartmasters Live Lounge, and today's first interview is with Teddy Pritchard-Williams. Teddy, welcome.
Thank you.
How's the start of your Kartmasters weekend been?
No, really good qualifying, and then we had a 6th and a 2nd in the heats yesterday, so good to today, but the weather's a bit different today.
Bit of rain. Do you want some rain in here?
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
I think, yeah, it spreads out more. I think it makes the racing a little bit easier as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So would you prefer a wet final as well tomorrow?
No, because I think a dry Kartmasters final, I don't think you can beat it.
Yeah. Bit of chaos when it's
chaos,
dry.
and it's just fun to be involved in. It's the races you sit, when you're not doing it, you watch and think, I want to be in that.
Yeah. And then how many Kartmasters have you done to date?
I think it's 6. I finished 4th last year.
Yeah.
I was in 3rd in Junior X30, my axle snapped, and then I didn't finish a couple of finals, so it's not the best record.
Do you reckon you could take that GP plate this weekend? What are you thinking of the competition so far?
It's always going to be difficult, but I do believe in myself and I think I can do it.
And then this year we've seen you transition over to Straubs.
Yeah.
Strawberry Racing are one of the biggest teams in Rotax in the world now.
Yeah.
And how's that been for you, and how's it been this first Kartmasters with them?
No, it's good. I've really enjoyed it. It was like quite a privilege when they asked if I'd come. So I jumped at it, and then, yeah, it's been really nice. It's nice working with different people. I got to thank Paul a lot, Warwick, Cooley, and Mechanic Below, because they've always been so nice to me and giving me the best package to be at the front consistently. I think that's the biggest change this year. We're there every weekend instead of 4 weekends of the year.
And you're one of the drivers now that we see pretty much consistently at the front. To you, drivers like yourself, Kai Hunter, Gus Laurence, those drivers that are always up there, what do you think actually makes a more complete driver?
A little bit older.
Yeah.
I think it helps. I think Macaulay's probably the exception. He's coming and gone straight to the front.
Do you think that's because age, is that like a mental thing? You can keep your head, or?
Yeah, I think I've learned, especially in the last 3 years, that if you have a bad, you just take a deep breath and go again.
Yeah.
I think that's massive. Like, I think when you're up the front, you automatically believe in yourself so much more.
Yeah.
And psychology is, I think, 90% of the racing.
And then being one of those older drivers and one of those leading lights, you do a lot of coaching with the younger grids. What do you see in some of the younger drivers, and what do you do for them?
I think I really like working with like the micro and mini drivers, because
Yeah.
I think the progression's massive, and when you see them get that result, or the little achievements, putting the blocks in place, and it's just really like fulfilling.
Yeah.
To help them. So yeah, but when you're like that little bit older, the circle like of your mates on the grid like every year gets smaller.
Yeah.
So like I speak to Matt, Kai, a lot.
Play a
Cal.
bit of golf with them too, don't you?
A little bit. It gives
Really
us
good?
something to talk about. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Okay.
Are you as good at golf as you are at driving a go-kart?
Nowhere near. Nowhere near. Definitely not as consistent.
And then back to Kartmasters. What do you find you change on a Kartmasters weekend compared to maybe a British round or another event? Because I think in my experience racing this is very different to others.
100%.
How do you change?
I think you can almost take your brain out.
Really?
At the British races, you have to think points.
Yeah.
At this, you go, because it's 2 separate days on Friday and Saturday as well. You go through Friday and then you reset for Saturday, and then you're also resetting for Sunday, and I think that's massive because you also you get to Friday night, where are we? Saturday night, where are we? And yeah, it's just nice because there's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
You win or you finish second. You don't really remember who finishes second.
So then, like this weekend, pretty much what you're saying is tunnel vision, whereas at a British, you're thinking about the other kind of factors of a weekend.
You're thinking 3 rounds. You're almost thinking 3 rounds ahead at a British race.
Yeah.
You're thinking, I just want to be there at the end.
Yeah.
With this, you're just like, no, let's go.
What would you say is the best thing you've ever seen happen at a Kartmasters?
That's tough. Some of the moves on like the laps and round the outside of the hairpins, I think they're the ones that everyone on the grandstand just goes, wow.
That grandstand gets a bit noisy, I think.
Yeah, especially Sunday. Like the atmosphere on there is just immense. When you stand and watch the other races, and then obviously when you're out there, you can see it all going on still. But it's just like when you watch the races back and they show the grandstand, I think it's mega to watch. And I think people at home, if they could get that atmosphere, it's mental.
And what are you most looking forward to this weekend?
Hopefully crossing that finish line first. That'd be the best thing.
Well, hopefully we'll see you do that, Teddy. Thanks for your time.
No, thank you.
Helen Crowther joins me in the Kartmasters live lounge. Helen, owner of On Point Media Management. Can you tell me about your business, how you got started, and how you found yourself in a kart paddock?
Well, my son has been karting for 10 years now, and I started off doing his social media and just mucking around doing reels and stuff. And then people just clocked onto it and started asking me. And since then, it sort of went from strength to strength, expanding on my kit and going to all the British rounds, get my media pass and accreditation and stuff. And now I sort of have a bank of customers. So I have drivers that are doing either IAME British or British Rotax. And then I have the teams as well, so representing Thule Motorsport and Coles Racing. So yeah, it's busy.
Yeah?
Yeah, very busy.
Between kind of managing Harrison and then running your business.
Yes.
I can imagine.
Having my alarm on my phone set to enter Junior Rotax so the grids don't fill out. But then, oh no, I need to get this done. But yeah, so it's hard juggling both. And then some weekends you have to work out, oh, right, I have 3.5 days to download footage, sort the reels out before the next event. And so, and people ask me last minute, so in future, anyone, make sure you book in early because I do get chock-a-blocked and I hate letting people down. But yeah, it's good. It's, not bad.
And then I think in the past probably 5 or so years, the use of social media in sports and in motorsport has grown massively, and the amount of media companies now that just work in karting has like grown twofold. It's huge.
It's massive.
But how important do you actually think that is for drivers and teams to be on social media and having it managed properly?
Massively. Having someone on hand to upload. It could be pole positioning quali. When it goes out, of course, it hits thousands of people. You know, and obviously it then encourages them either into the sport or to emigrate to that team. Or and as a driver, the more follows, the better, because the more engaging you are with social media. People want to invest in you, and people, you find that sponsors might come more easy when you transition through from karting into cars. So yeah, it's extremely important for anyone in motorsport.
And then Harrison, I'm aware he's got a few different sponsors. Has social media been a big thing for him in getting that?
Yes, basically they enjoy the fact that they are tagged in absolutely everything. And if he's done well, they then share it. But then again, if there's promotional aids that they need sharing vice versa, it comes back the other way. So yeah, it's very good, and it's like a partnership. That's all it is, really. So
do you ever find yourself when you're out on the track shooting the videos for clients, do you ever find yourself getting distracted by Harrison, or do you have to try and like ignore what he's doing and focus on the other drivers?
I do, yeah. I have to try to ignore what he's doing. And it is difficult. When he's racing, I actually prefer not to have the camera in my hand.
Yeah.
Because I am too distracted.
Yeah.
To be of any use behind a camera. So
start videoing the floor.
Yes, I'm like, no, don't hang it around the outside. What are you doing? But yeah, and there are times where I've actually caught him having an accident on camera.
Have you?
Yeah, and it's awful. Any parent can you know, imagine. But yeah, so I do try not to.
Yeah.
So, but if I have to, I have to. It's part of the game, you know. It's customers' needs and stuff. And Harrison, no.
And then Kartmasters Week is one of the biggest one-off races in the UK, arguably in the world as well. It's really huge. And how do you see Harrison and your other clients, drivers and teams, kind of change on Kartmasters Week?
They do. It's, if you consider when you're at a British round, it's all to do with the points.
Yeah.
And you're, you know, if you finish in the top 5 consistently throughout the weekend, it's not about getting on the podium in that one event as much. It's about points gathering for the end result of being top 3 in the British Championship. However, at Kartmasters, because it is a one-off championship and it is so worldly known, I mean, people come to this event from all over the world to compete. It's a one-off championship, so anyone can win. In the top, literally, you can start at the back of the grid in the final.
Seen it happen with Brandon Carr.
Yeah, or you can be in the last lap in 7th place and still come across the line and win because of A, penalties, or B, incidents that happen on track.
Or you could literally lead the whole race.
Yes.
In the last corner, you shuffle back to 10th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. It's never over until that fat lady, as we say. You know, the famous saying. But yeah, it's a brilliant event, and I think it, you know, people come to it, especially year in, year out. Some people avoid it, but some people, you know, love it and do it every year.
And you get people coming from all over the world as well. You know, you've got Dubai, Czech drivers.
I know.
Like the Polish, Monaco, like
Italians.
Yeah.
And, everyone comes to it.
And I get a bit envious of you, really, because you're media and you are out there on the circuit taking the videos, you get a really good view of the corners. Sometimes you're like meters away from a chicane or a hairpin.
Yeah.
Is that like quite a unique place to be able to see things going on?
It is, especially on the start, down at the second hairpin, on the outside of the second hairpin, because if you're filming the start and literally you have 36 carts just come flying past you, you're like, oof, you know, but it really is, it's a sensation that only media people can have when they're out on track. You get the speed of how fast they're going.
It's quite funny, really, because I think no matter what you do in karting, whether you're a parent, media, driver, everybody gets some sort of like adrenaline.
Yes.
It's just in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is, yes, that is mine. When I'm out there, I'm like, ooh, or you know, you don't realise actually what some of these young children are expected to do. You know, people that have no idea in motorsport or karting. You sit there and say, yeah, they travel at about 70 miles an hour down the straight,
and
they're an inch from the ground with no seatbelts, because people that aren't related to motorsport assume.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah.
And, you know, when you actually look at what they do and how they make moves stick, sometimes you sit there, and I sometimes think, actually, a lot of parents put too much pressure on the children because they don't understand what it's like out there.
I think it's quite impressive, though, the way clubs like TVKC actually make it such a safe environment on the track, though, for the drivers. We say, even though it's a full-on thing to be out there, I've done it, like you said, you're an inch off the floor driving at 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
If you put your arm out, you could touch somebody else. But, you know, the tracks are so safe, you very rarely see anything go seriously wrong.
No, the safety is paramount, and the marshals and everyone here at Trent Valley, they are all spot on. Take everything so serious. Everyone, if there is an incident, someone's there within a split second.
Yeah.
And you know, I have take my hat off to them out there in the baking sun yesterday. It was, but yeah, it's they're really good here. So.
And then one more question for you, Helen.
Yes.
What are you most looking forward to seeing this weekend at Kartmasters?
The finals.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Any specific final?
Actually, I don't want to watch the juniors. No. To be honest, I always find mini-inters and juniors, pretty much, that I'll be out there on Sunday watching the whole lot. But of course, I'll have to go down and do my media on the grid out there, you know, when we do the walkouts and stuff. But yeah, Sundays it's going to get quite spicy.
That's great. Great to have you, Helen.
Thank you.
That's On Point Media Management owner Helen Crowther. Next up in the Kartmasters Live Lounge is Tav Kirk. Tav, how are you this morning?
Good, thank you, apart from the rain. We could do without less rain.
It's Kartmasters and it always rains on one of the days.
Yeah, we had both days now, haven't we? We've had yesterday and today. It's just like, yeah, be nice without the rain.
And Tav, can you tell myself and the audience a little bit about yourself and what brings you to PF?
What brings me to PF? Obviously, I've been in the industry all my life. My dad owned a kart circuit just down the road in Newark. I finally got the call up, I suppose, from Paul Fletcher last year when Paul Barnicoat decided he wasn't renewing. Spoke to Paul, started the journey, and started in May. Here I am.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So I think your official role here, you're ops manager.
Yes.
What is involved in that track running and what do you do
day to day, I've got the corporate carts to deal with, so I deal with the corporate stuff, basically making sure they go out on time, making sure that's all sorted, make sure the track's ready for you guys when you come, from anything, so kind of bottom end from the toilets all the way up to like running the big corporate sessions from charities and stuff like that. So it's kind of a broad spectrum, so no day at PF is ever the same, which is great. It's brilliant. There's always something different happening, which is nice.
And then having a long history then in karting, what do you think of the sport and what do you think of karting, you know, club rounds, Kartmasters, the racing that goes on at PFI?
I think it's fantastic. I mean, TVKC do a wonderful job. You know, you go, I was at Shellington at the weekend, everyone does a wonderful job, but you come here, there's just something special about PF. For me, when I spoke to Paul and I spoke to the family, with everything that was kind of happening, kind of PF is the pinnacle of karting, isn't it, in the UK?
Yeah.
This is
like the beating heart almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you come here and you just, everything's, I don't know, like with Nigel, with the girls downstairs, everything all kind of flows. It's really good, and it's just a pleasure to be here, really, if I'm honest.
And then I think, is this your first Kartmasters being ops manager?
Yes, so this is my first Kartmasters on the, what I call on the wrong side of the fence. Normally I'm sat in the spectator stand and I'm kind of with the team or whatever I'm doing, and yeah, it definitely feels a bit different for me because I'm used to being in the paddock, just chilling out with friends, having a drink or watching the racing or helping the mechanic or whatever, and now I'm kind of running around secretly in the back, kind of making sure everything's running right. And we have a few problems here and there, but we're all right, and as long as no one notices, we're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you enjoy kind of being on that other side where you get to be a bit under the radar but see all the different bits of what goes on?
Yes. What I really like about it was taking over. So I've been here 3 months now, and I'm making little changes in different things, like silly little things. Like someone said the other day, you've had all the trees cut out. I'm like down the back, so you can walk down the back. The logo's changed, so it's now black and red, and just little improvements everywhere on the track, and just trying to make it a bit sharper for everyone.
Like solidifying the brand almost?
Yeah, trying to, that's the biggest thing, is trying to, for PF, I always think it needs to be a central band. You know, for me, when Paul Fletcher and I were talking in the meetings with his daughters and everything else, it was important for me. This is probably my last 10 years of kind of karting, if that makes sense. I've got 10 years in here, and it's like, I just want to leave and I want the place, but I want it to be a homage to Paul for everything he's done in the sport. I don't think a lot of people realise how much Paul has done over the years for the sport. Some people do, some people don't.
I think it's probably one of the biggest achievements
100%
in UK karting, what Paul Fletcher has done. Nobody has done what he has done.
No.
And he's built like almost a karting empire, I think.
100%, and it's so humbling when I got the call and went through the meetings, and kind of, I see myself as a bit of a guardian of the Paul Fletcher name, like to make sure everything's right, and I want to protect it. Not that it needs protecting, but I kind of have something soft in my heart for it. I don't know what.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And then as for the racing this weekend at Kartmasters, and of course we have the FIA World Finals coming in September, what do you think of the standard that goes on out there on the track from the drivers, that is?
I think like any form of motorsport, there's always going to be clean races. There's always going to be, you know, there's always going to be that point where someone's taking someone off track, someone not taking someone off the track. It's kind of, I think it's always karting. It's even in Formula. You look from any sport, there's always going to be an instant that someone's not going to appreciate. You know, it's kind of, there's nothing you can really do there with it. It'll always be clean or dirty. There's no real... That's racing, isn't it? If there wasn't that flamboyance, there wasn't that accident, wasn't someone taking someone out in turn 1 or 2, it wouldn't be karting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you ever look at the driving that goes on and think, I'd want to jump in, or...?
No, I'm too old for that now. I'm far too old. You know, everyone keeps trying to get me out. You know, when we do the rental kart stuff, everyone's like, "Oh, come out and do some sessions." I'm like, I'm 42 years old. I've done enough karting. I grew up at a kart track. I was in a kart at 3 years old. I kind of just go, no, I'm quite happy just to watch, enjoy it, just sit at the sidelines. Occasionally, I might jump in a rental kart or a race kart every now and then, but no, I'm done. I'm quite happy.
And what would you say you're most looking forward to seeing for the finals tomorrow? Is there anything specifically you are looking out for?
Not particularly, no. I'd like to see Gus on the top step, obviously, because of the connection there with Paul and Paul's driver. That'd be probably like the achievement 1. Put Gus back on P1 for GP. That'd be quite nice for the GP plate for Gus. But no, nothing in particular. As long as everyone leaves here happy and safe, and we're all happy with that, really.
Well, thank you for having us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
I'm very, appreciative to be here representing TVKC and PFI brand, and
it's a special place. Something about the place that just makes you want to do more. I don't know why. But yeah.
Well, thanks for your time.
No, thanks for your time. See you all soon. Cheers.
Right. That's Kirk, everybody. KR Sport driver Joshua Graham joins me in the live lounge. Josh, yesterday, how were your results?
Yeah, it was pretty good qualifying. I finished, I can't remember. Wait, my mind's gone blank.
Up the front somewhere?
Yeah, up the front, I think 7th.
Yeah.
In the first heat, I finished 7th, and then the second heat was much better. I finished 3rd.
And then this morning we've seen the rain come down. Very different to yesterday where it was 26 degrees and all rubbered up.
Yeah.
Today, how have you found things?
Yeah, I started at the front. We were all gridded up. I started at the front and went straight away, and I couldn't really get a clean 3 laps. Obviously, the 3-lap average, and I finished 16th. So I got a lot of work to do, but I'm sure I can come through.
So the 3-lap average setup, obviously, instead of putting in 1 quick lap in quali, you've got to put 3 quick laps in, and then it's your average across those.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Do you find that harder in the wet than in the dry?
Yeah, it definitely is. Like in the wet, it's more bunched up. Everyone's like coming up your inside, so yeah, it's definitely much harder.
And then moving on to some of your success. Last year, you went to the Rotax Grand Finals in Bahrain. And I know you did very well there. How was that experience, and how did you find the Rotax event?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a bit of European racing last year, which obviously helped me with my racing, but I got 2 heat wins out there. I started 4th for the final, but got taken out, and I went from last to 6th or something, which was really good. So I reckon I could have won it on track, but luck wasn't on my side.
And then when you were out there, you were in Junior Rotax. You came back to the UK, in the new year, went to Senior. You're the youngest senior driver in the grid, you're 15.
Yeah.
What influenced that choice, and do you think you actually have an advantage being a lot younger than the rest of the grid?
Yeah, I think like my age, I mean my height I had to move up, but I think my age, I'm racing like 20-year-olds, so I think the pressure's much less for me, whereas they're quite older and they've been in the class much longer than me, so they're expected to do really well.
Do you think you actually put pressure on them because they're older? Do you think being a lot younger, they feel that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're definitely looking a lot behind when I'm behind them and, defending, so they can definitely feel the pressure.
And as somebody who's raced in some really big events around the world, what do you think of Kartmaster Week?
Yeah, it's the biggest UK event of the year, everyone wants to win. I mean, the driving standards aren't always the cleanest, but, you just got to drive through.
I think it's one of those events where really anything can happen at any point. What are you most looking forward to?
I think the final. Like, once today dries up and the heats are out the way, I think, pre-final and final with the new tyre, it's going to be good.
Well, best of luck to you, Josh.
Thank you.
That's Senior Rotax driver Joshua. 2023 Senior X30 GP plate winner Gus Laurence joins me in the live lounge. Gus, how's things going so far?
Yeah, not bad yesterday. We qualified, could be slightly better. We qualified pole, won my first race, and then had a DNF in the second race. I got sort of driven over on the bridge. It wrote the car off, hands a bit sore. It's all to play for still. We're only 20th in the standings with another day to go, yeah, so we'll be all right.
And then I kind of want to get time machine. rewind to this time last year when you took that GP plate home. Having been partnered with Paul Fletcher, he gives you a lot of support. You represent his name every weekend that you race. How much did that mean to you when you won?
Yeah, amazing. I don't think in the Senior X30 category he had a driver win it before me. I might be wrong, but yeah, he was over the moon. I think it's the biggest race for him to win, and we won it, and he was really happy.
And then some of your biggest karting moments. You've been in the sport quite a while. You've been one of those drivers that has been at the front for a majority of that. Have you got any kind of moments that stick in your head that you sit there and think, yeah, that was good?
It's winning the British Championship for the first time, because you put a lot of effort in over the whole season to maintain the points, and it's what, 5 or 6 tracks, and to win that is it's a boyhood dream to be British champion, and obviously to go and win it again, that was amazing. So obviously we're competing again this year in it, doing quite well, so it's still to play for.
And what do you think of the GP plate week? It's a long event, it's 4 days with another prep day. How do you manage that as a driver, especially a driver that's, you know, a favourite to win?
Yeah, so obviously it's the biggest race of the year in this country. 4 days, yeah, it's extremely long. The weather's generally quite nice, so you've got to prepare yourself, keep hydrated.
It was raining this morning,
raining today. Yeah, it's a good one, and it is obviously, there's no championship involved. It's all out, try to win. So no, I enjoy it. I think it's a good event, and I can't fault it.
And then September, so time machine's now jumping forwards. FIA World Finals will be at Paul Fletcher International. Are you entering?
Yeah, so we're here next week for the practice, and then we're doing the Champions of the Future and the World Championship. Yeah, it's a race I've never competed in, never really raced that category, so it's going to be quite different. I think it's more like Formula 1 standards in terms of karting compared to what we usually do in terms of manufacturers and whatnot, and getting all the equipment right. No, it'll be a good challenge. I'm happy to be doing it. I've never had the opportunity to do it, and I'm happy to be doing it, especially at the home track. Maybe a little bit of local knowledge will help, but by the time the race happens, I'm sure everybody would have done plenty of enough practice to know the correct lines and whatnot. So, no, I'm looking forward to it.
And then over the past, say, 5 years or so, you've been up the front. In your opinion, what would you say actually, those quicker drivers that weekend in, weekend out, they are at the front, what do you think that they have that others might not, that sets them apart?
I think to be consistently at the front, you need to have a good background behind you, like a good team base, making sure the equipment is correct and the best it can be, because you don't want no mechanical failures. Making sure the equipment's right, and also seat time, trying to get yourself out as much as possible, because it's like anything, the more you do it, the better you're going to get for sure.
Practice makes perfect.
Yeah, of course, the more experience you can get, even if it's driving something slower, you get back in your normal car, it's like riding a bike, you get back on it and it's the same, So definitely having a good team, and then as much experience as you can get.
And even at this stage of your career, are there still things that you aren't as strong at, or that you try and keep working on?
Yeah, I think sometimes, especially this track, I find this is the hardest track to race at. Like a one-on-one battle with another driver, extremely difficult.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think you can overtake at every corner. It's always a left leads into a right, so you can get the switch back or whatnot.
The kind of like you do them, but they come in straight back in on you.
Yeah, because where you overtake them, you'll be worse off for the next corner, and they might be better off. So it's I've definitely not performed well sometimes in that area, and I scratch my head and frustrates me. But it's just, this track is so difficult. I think to extract the maximum speed and racecraft, this is the hardest track, definitely.
And I'm definitely anticipating to see you up the front in the finals, but are there any other races or classes that you're looking forward to watching this weekend?
Yeah, I like the senior and junior racing. I think it's good for the juniors because they're all growing up, and again, we all make mistakes, but it's nice to watch, especially some drivers that I teach as well. It's good to watch them improve, and then they might make a mistake, but it's something for them to work on.
I think that like feisty teenage spirit as well adds a bit to it.
Definitely, yeah. And then obviously the senior racing, like the Senior Rotax, the other senior class, that's always a good race. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they all get on.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on.
Thank you.
Best of luck, Gus. That's Gus Laurence, everyone. Senior Rotax driver 33, Jack Lilly, joins me in the live lounge. Jack, nice to have you here.
Yeah, nice to be here.
And I wanted to talk to you firstly within this interview about yesterday's racing compared to today. You were really quick in practice and then had some bad luck in quali. What happened there?
Yeah, we went. We're pretty much fastest in practice, and then we went into quali, and we did one lap, and the starter lead disconnected, so that made us break down. So then we had to start from the back for both our heats, which made both the heats hard. But it was just good to come through. So we went from 34th to 11th in 2 laps, and then had a bit of an incident, got a penalty, and then we ended up 19th on track, but we got the penalty, so we ended up 24th. And then the second heat, we went from 34th to 9th, which that was good.
And then today you had P4 in quali in group, so you know, a big difference from yesterday's bad luck. How did you deal with that mentally? You know, the really difficult quali, and then you know, you've got a whole day of racing and then another day of racing today. How do you deal with that as a driver that's quite mature and a bit older? How do you manage it?
I think you just got to keep the same mentality, because if you go into a different race like thinking differently, you're gonna make things which you're not meant to do. So you'll end up doing things which are like, you'll end up making mistakes, and then you'll end up going backwards and backwards. So you might as well just do what you're used to, and then just keep moving up and up, and just keep the consistent points.
And then I think this year, what I wanted to talk to you about as well, Sam Pollock Racing, we've seen a pretty phenomenal show of results for them. Sam has been in the game for a very long time, but this year has really, you know, names are already on the map, but I think has been kind of glowing. What's your opinion and your outlook on that?
Yeah, obviously there's been a lot going on in the backgrounds with engines and setups and all that, which obviously HRS obviously doing a great bit of work to get us up the field, which is obviously shown in the results from across the whole team. And obviously setups as well, obviously setups have progressed to meet the engines and stuff, which I'd say Lewis Brown does. So it keeps consistently going further and further, which then makes it easier for us as drivers to keep up at the top and then showcase what we're about.
And then Kartmasters, this is an event where I often find myself at home rewatching old races of it. It's one of those things that you could watch a Kartmasters replay 10 times and it's still so exciting. Have you got any moments that stick in your head from this event in previous years?
To be honest, I'd say the final last year, that was all right. We went from, I'd say, from near enough the back of the grid to 11th, which that was good.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I think it was a bit harder for us back then to get the good results, but I hope this year that we can get the good results.
Well, hopefully I'll see you get a good result, Jack. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next up in the live lounge is Marcus Lucio, Senior X30 Driver. Marcus, bit of a difficult start to your Kartmasters yesterday, but you're on a upwards drive. How's things going?
Yeah, no, it's good. Thursday was pretty decent, and Friday just went down in quali, and yeah, worked my way back up, and I think I'm P6 in the standings after yesterday. So yeah, no, it's good, going good so far.
So, like you said, P6 in the IC, and then a P2 this morning in your first heat. That first heat was a mixture of slicks and wets throughout the grid. There was a lot of scrapping going out in Parc Fermé before, people trying to get the right setup. Why did you go for the slicks? Was it a risk, or did you feel confident?
Well, my dad said to look at the track before, and I did, and I thought it was wets, but then he got the radio from Mickey, who runs Premium, and yeah, he said go on slicks, and I didn't think it was right, but clearly it was, so yeah.
And you've done a few Kartmasters now. You're back again this year, even though you're doing karting and car campaign. What do you think of the GP plate?
Yeah, no, it would be good. It would be a good one to win. Yeah, I've not been too successful in Kartmasters over the 3 times I've done it. So yeah, it would be a good one to win, and hopefully we can.
And then going on to your car racing, you started this year in the GB4 grid, then moved to GB3. How's that going for you, and what do you think of single-seaters?
Yeah, no, it's going good. Yeah, learning every time I go out and getting more competitive. No, it's been really good. Yeah.
And your long-term goal, is it Formula One, endurance racing? What are you looking to do when you get a bit older?
Well, I think everyone's goal in racing is Formula One. Obviously, I'd really like to make it as a race against a couple of drivers who have made it into Formula One.
Who like?
Ollie Behrman in 2019, I finished third and he finished first in the Euro Series, and Kimi Antonelli. So not there yet, but on the way up. So yeah, I'd really like to get to it, but obviously it's got to be feasible. So anything that I enjoy, really, that's the main aspect of racing. And
then, you know, going back to karting, I think, and at the minute you're ranked #1 in Senior X30 in the world in the FIA ranking. Does that give you any pressure, or is it a more confidence thing? So you're followed in that closely by Danny Caronini, the Italian driver, but to be #1 currently, what's that like?
Yeah, no, it's a good feeling. It means that you can go into every weekend with your head held high. Yeah, it's a new thing, isn't it? So everyone is really keeping eyes on it, and yeah, no, it's really good. Yeah, obviously they base it off the championships and in the Euro Series at the moment. I am P2 on drop rounds, close to the lead. So yeah, obviously it makes sense why I'm leading. So yeah, it's really good.
And then with the FIA setup, they'll be coming here in September for the World Finals, karting World Finals. You gonna get an entry in for that, or?
Yeah, we have entered. I think probably one of the first. Did it as soon as it opened. So yeah, no, it should be good. This is my first time at PFI in a year and a half. So yeah, this is good preparation and a good event for the Worlds.
And then for the Worlds and for the GP plate, do you reckon you've got actually quite a good chance?
Yeah, I mean, this weekend has been really competitive, improving every session, obviously not being in the kart as much this year due to car racing, and yeah, the FI Worlds, I've done it before, yeah, it's been really competitive in it, so hopefully we can repeat that and go again.
And so the audience and myself can look out for your results. What's your next event?
Next event, I don't really know, just, yeah. Just go whichever one we feel like, to be honest. I think next karting event is Genk, final round of the Army Euro Series, and then next car racing one is Donington in GB3.
Well, good luck at Genk and in Donington. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Marcus. In the live lounge, and I'm joined by Alice Powell. Alice, how are you?
Very good. Now it's stopped raining. I've had to change into my Disney socks because my
fancy.
normal
Nice.
sports socks got a bit soaked walking around the track earlier. But no, I'm all good, thank you.
And Alice, I definitely know who you are, but for the audience, can you just describe a bit about, you know, your background in karting and what you're doing in your motorsport career now?
Yeah, so I started go-karting around about 8-9 years old, many moons ago now. Worked up through ranks of karting, did Coma Cadet, it was at the time, then JICA, and then I sort of went into Janetta Juniors, and then sort of single-seaters. Probably stopped racing about 2 years ago now, and sort of what I do now is work for Alpine F1's Junior Academy, and I do sort of TV commentary work for F1, Channel 4 and the BBC, so it's pretty busy.
And Formula E as well? You've done
I do some the simulator work for the Envision Formula E team as well. So yeah, mixing lots of different things.
Yeah. And have you ever raced in the Kartmasters before?
I have, and it was probably the last time I raced in Kartmasters was, I'm gonna guess, around about 2006.
Yeah.
And I think it was a wet one. I finished 4th, and yeah, I just always loved Kartmasters. I said to my mum actually, I'm coming up for Kartmasters this weekend because I'm working.
Yeah.
And she said, I always used to love going to Kartmasters. You know, it's such a great event. So even my mum remembers it, and what a great event it is.
And this weekend's racing, what have you thought of it so far?
Great, it's always a big challenge. So nice to see, you know, packed grids as always, and you know, it's about trying to be as consistent as possible, and you want to have a good starting place obviously for the finals, so keeping your nose clean and getting a good sort of position for the pre-finals is really important, but of course that's much easier said than done.
And this weekend you're representing Alpine, you've got Lizzy Mentier out, Sukmani Kira, how they've been getting on. And
yeah, good. I mean, Sugar's had Sugars, Sukmani. We spoke about that the other day. Her nickname is Sugars, so she had a slightly tougher time this morning in qualifying, and not a great first heat. A bit mixed, but yesterday was really good. And Lizzy's had a good day yesterday. She was sort of 12th overall in the classification. Sukmani was about 3rd. She would have dropped down now a little bit, but both doing really well. It's so tough out there. It's so competitive. Bit of argy-bargy that always goes on, which is typical. But no, they're both doing really well.
Yeah, Lizzy said yesterday that she thinks she's grown in aggression since this time last year when she was at this event. She's trying to get her elbows out a little bit more. So.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's your measured aggression, really. You know, you can be over-aggressive quite easily, so it's a fine line. But certainly, you know, to be a top driver, you've got to have that managed aggression. And certainly, Lizzy's really come on over sort of the past year. You know, she's not typically against the guys that she's racing against and girls in her class. You know, she's actually started karting quite late, so you know, her learning rate has been really good. And yeah, she's mixing it in the top 10 in really tough grids across, you know, Kartmasters, UKC and the BKC as well.
And then that aggression then, within your job role and how you support Lizzy, that fine line between under and over and just right, is that something you actually help to manage? Yeah,
definitely. You know, you can give advice, and she's racing with Dan Holland Racing as well, and you know, Russ and the team are really experienced, so she really listens well to them as well. But you know, giving that sort of advice is good, but at the end of the day, they're the ones that are out there that have to make that split-second decision. So we give as much advice overall as we can, and you know, keeping the confidence up is a real big thing, because like Lizzy yesterday, she was in 6th in one of the heats and then sort of got a bit battled and bashed about, and then all of a sudden she was down in 14th. Whereas actually she picked her way through to get to 6th in the first place. So it's just managing sort of emotions, and you'll know in karting and racing in general, so up and down, and it can change so quickly. It's a tiring weekend, especially while Kartmasters is 4 days long. So it's really tough, not just on the mechanics and the teams running around, but certainly for the drivers.
So do you actually think Kartmasters is one of those events that's more emotional for a driver?
I would say so, because it's not like it's a championship. You know, you not think, well, you know, I didn't have a great round this weekend, I've got the next round to work on. It's just one event, and everybody wants to win, but everyone wants to win Kartmasters. It's one of the biggest races in the karting scene. So of course, you know, it's emotional. And you know, if you have that one sort of slip up, it does really sort of drop you down sort of the final classification, because it's just so competitive. So consistency is really, really important.
And I know you occasionally jump back in a KZ. We spoke about that last week at Shellington. You don't race KZs around here, but would you jump in a go-kart and give a Kartmasters a go anytime soon?
Yeah, maybe when I find a bit more money, rake up some dosh. I'd love to hop back in. I mean, I'll probably be training around sort of middle to the back, but you never know. I'll have to get a little bit of testing in. It's a bit different since, you know, the days when I was driving here. You'd sort of go up the straight and you did your typical hairpin right. Well, now you've got all the bridge second. No, didn't do the bridge. That definitely didn't exist when I was racing here. So no, I'd love to one day hop back in and give it a go.
And is there anything particular that you're looking forward to watching tomorrow on finals day?
I watch all of them.
Yeah.
So no, just all of them. All the classes from both Water Swift all the way up to the senior classes. You most of the time you go into the final lap and you've got no idea who's going to win. You know, you make connections with drivers. So you know, most of the drivers that are racing the front of the categories you sort of know to say hello to. So that even sort of makes me want to watch even more, because you sort of know the drivers. But certainly, obviously, I'll be paying close attention to Sugars and Lizzy, hoping that they have a great event. Both of them are more than capable of winning, and that's what I keep saying to them. Look, anything can happen at Kartmasters, and it usually does.
Well, the last girl to win a Kartmasters GP plate, I think it was Gabriel Mir in 2011. So maybe we'll be seeing Sugars or Lizzy on that top spot.
I hope so. They're definitely more than capable of doing it, that's for sure.
Oh, thanks for your time, Alice.
No worries, thank you.
Next up in the Kartmasters live lounge is Alicia Barrett, George Clark's mechanic in OMS Racing. Alicia, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
You're not just a mechanic within the paddock, you're also a driver that's raced really competitively. Can you tell me about some of your previous Kartmasters results?
Yeah, so the last time I raced at Kartmasters was 2020. I went off pole for the final. Unfortunately, just missed out and came P4. But yeah, that was the last time I did Kartmasters, but I've done it ever since cadet, really. So yeah, I've done quite a few.
And the event as a whole, what do you think of it as somebody who has raced?
I love it. I think everyone looks forward to it. It's like the only 4-day event, and I think everyone looks forward to it. I mean, it's one of the biggest things to try and win, so it's definitely really competitive.
And then your driver, George Clark, do you think because you've got experience at the event, it's easier for you to kind of push him forward and say the right things to him?
I think just from a driver perspective, I think you know how it feels to be really nervous on the grid, especially as a 10-year-old. So I think it's easier to know the right things to say, maybe to keep them chill, but also just general driver coaching advice, because that's you're the last person who speaks to them before they go out and race. So it's quite important you give them the right information.
And then having really been under the spotlight in your kart career and around really competitive races, are there any Kartmasters moments that really stick in your head?
Quite a few. I feel like I've always just been in the wrong place at one time or got to the lead at the wrong point.
Yeah.
That's what happened in 2020. I led for a lot of it, and then had a little tussle with someone at the end of the straight, and that still sticks with me now because ultimately that lost me a step on the podium. So yeah, I think there's a few moments you've got to be so on it, so competitive, and some of it comes down to just the timing of everything. So yeah, there's a few moments that have stuck.
Do you ever find yourself thinking about jumping back in to kind of redeem yourself and be like, I could get on the podium?
I would love to, but unless a sponsor wants to come along and give you some money, I'd rather
borrow George's cart.
Yeah, borrow George's cart, put his helmet on, maybe I'd get away with it.
Might look a bit tall compared to the other drivers.
I can just about fit into a mini cart, yeah, just about. Don't think I'd get away with it though.
And then on the other side of things then, as a mechanic, how have you seen George's mindset this weekend at such a big event?
I think he's only been racing 2 years, so he's come on a long way in a very short space of time. So I think he sets his expectations really high for himself and wants to achieve a lot. So that's what he's trying to do this weekend. But it's a tough grid. I think this is the most competitive I've seen the cadet grid in a long time, because it's your top 20, nearly 25 are all so close. So I think it's a big event for him, but he's doing really well. I think everything's a learning experience, and he's always got next year. So as long as he can, put it all into practice from this year, take it into next year, that's the main thing.
So George is new within the paddock, but also the team that he's racing for, OMS, are new as well. What's your role? Because I think, do you do a bit more than just being a mechanic in there?
Yeah, so I do a lot of the background stuff in the week. Matt's our new TM, so I do a lot of help with him. We've just set up a brand new arrive and drive, because I think we all relate that it was really hard to get into motorsport unless you come from a background or you naturally fall into it. I was really lucky to just fall into it. But we want to provide, a place where people can come and literally just borrow a kart, but not a corporate, not indoor, an actual water Swift, but all the way up till senior we're going to do. So we've been pretty busy trying to set that up and get that all ready. And then obviously a mechanic for George as well.
So really the team's trying to give more of a realistic stepping stone so that kids can come in and know what it's like at that high level right from the get-go, but at an accessible in an accessible way. Yeah,
definitely, because it's not very often you can just go ring up a place and just hire it for a day for a reasonable price to go around and see if you like it. Especially if you think of all the kids that come in now that are in Bambino and don't really know what they want to do and moving up class-wise. I think it will help with that sort of thing as well. But our aim is to get more. We basically approached schools, so our aim is to get more school children to get into the sport from a grassroots level. So yeah, I think it will be good once we get it all going properly. So yeah, it's work in progress.
Yeah, good. And then this weekend, going back to GP Pay as the topic, are there any races you're really looking forward to watching other than George's?
Definitely the Junior X30 race. I think that's probably one of the most interesting ones to watch at the moment. It's so close. They always put on a good show, really.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because the last class I did obviously was Junior X30. I always like to go back and watch that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Well, it's good to speak to you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
So that is a wrap on the 2024 Kartmasters Live Lounge. We've heard 30 different motorsport stories from 30 different Kartmasters attendees. Tomorrow we're live from just before 10 o'clock for pre-finals. Make sure you tune in on the Alpha Live channels so you don't miss out.